Well, welcome back, Smite fans, as we jump into set number 2. My name's Gormizer. Joining me on the desk for this one's going to be none other than Myth. And Myth, we just watched the Gladiators fall down 3-0 to the Leviathans. Now, you get to see what the Hounds have to offer us as they take on the Ravens. One that I think is really exciting, again, because of some, again, potential standings shifts. Specifically, if you're looking towards the Hounds, you're just trying to fight as much and as best as you can out of that bottom spot to give you a better shot at qualifying to Worlds as soon as possible. So their goal right now is win out on everything. And unfortunately for them on this one, the Ravens are the ones standing in their way. But this is a matchup, again, I think it's really interesting to watch because the Hounds have always been this team that is way scrappier than you would think, just based on standings, based on where they've been. And even after roster changes, there's someone who I think to be a little bit scrappier, not just here against the Ravens. A little bit later this week, they're going to be taking on the Gladiators, which is going to be a very interesting matchup between those two teams. For the Gladiators especially, trying to find just a win in this phase as we go forward on the road to Worlds. But the big thing right now for the Hounds is first and most maybe important hurdle for them is taking over the Ravens, trying to catch up to the Dragons who are right above them.
Yeah, I think this set has the makings of one that could go the absolute distance. And when I say that, I don't mean just 5 games. I'm talking 5 potentially long games. That's not to say that maybe the Ravens come out absolutely swinging or the Hounds have something crazy cooked up. But if we just go off history alone, I feel like these two teams could be pretty evenly matched in output, assuming both come in on a good day.
The Ravens, I mean, look, they've been a team, phase 1, you go look at them, and they were the dominant at that time of the Order division. And then now trying to fight towards the top, right? Warriors aren't necessarily unattainable right now, 5-2. So a win here gets you one step closer. You need them to lose out, though, if you're looking at the right-hand side. And you have to win out if you're the Hound. So a lot of things that have to go your way for both of these squads. And if they want to see any kind of change in standing, of course, this week. Next week, a couple more matches, but probably a little more solidified after a couple more this week. And then we're in, talking playoffs. We're talking end of the year towards Worlds and that run. If you saw the video earlier, I'm excited. I'm sure you're excited. The players are too. But this matchup, Mifflin, cracking into it, there's a lot of individuals on this squad and in these booths I think that are worth highlighting and that we've highlighted in the past, right? Like, I mean, you've got to talk about Ducky, who I think has been a very good mainstay for this. Neil, very recently joining them and kind of jumping back into his support role, but like at this point, how well is he meshing with them, right? You've had plenty of time to try and to adapt to it, so where is that going to be? And then it's that guy that's actually on the right-hand side of the screen. It's Oathhh. A huge, huge progenitor of, I think, the team's success is whether or not Oathhh gets off to a running start or not.
Yeah, Oathhh has had a rough go of it in the last few sets. Last time we seen him, it was up against the Leviathans. That was a 3-0 for the Leviathans, and in that, it was primarily Rat for Oathhh out of the jungle. Still trying to do his classic, get active early, leverage global, play around that solo and duo side gank. Doesn't generally like to hover mid too often. And so if they're able to leverage that playstyle, I expect good things. But primary difference is when I look at every other jungler in the league, or just about every other jungler, we're seeing a whole lot of defensive builds, a whole lot of tanky builds. Oathhh has said, hey, I've spent the last 5 years playing high damage output burst assassins, and I'm not about to stop, okay? Meta be damned, I'm doing what I want to do. And I'm looking at all of his builds in the last 10 games even, and it's just damage. I'm not seeing a single defense item. Whereas you compare him to the other guy on the other side, Screammmmm, that guy's running tank every game on every pick.
We'll have to see. Screammmmm, someone we're going to break into a little bit later, and probably someone, like you said, Oathhh, has to keep his mind on in terms of the matchup, where Screammm's going to be active on the map, what he's going to do, and how he approaches this set. And luckily for us, though, we don't have to think too much about it and try to break our own brains on it. He actually told us, we sat down with him earlier this week to get his thoughts on the meta, the matchup, and how things are going against the Ravens.
Yeah, I mean, we played as expected in the Glads. It was pretty quick and easy, and obviously they're not in the greatest spot right now. But yeah, I was happy with how we performed last week for sure. Team confidence, it's always been an absolute high. Even when we first got Steven, confidence has never been shook. After a loss, we're still confident, and we're gonna keep going into every set like that.
It was a rough stretch, to say the least. Think we're still learning, and obviously our team's quite a bit different. So we're just getting used to each other still and stuff like that. We have a lot of time before Worlds, and if we just keep practicing and playing, we could do pretty good by then. I'd say like the morale's like pretty fine, pretty good.
The Hounds, since they got NeilMah, I would say they've been a bit shaky, but I think they still have the same potential previously that they had with Quig, where they can just come up and they can play a clean game. We saw that with one of their sets against the Ferrymen. They still have the potential to come in and beat a top team, even though they're not considered a top team.
The Ravens have been pretty good for sure. I don't know if they've been like one of the top tier teams per se, but they're definitely a really good team. And as a team, we're feeling pretty confident. We've had a really tough schedule recently, and I think we're learning a lot from that. And I think against the Ravens, we could do a bit better.
I mean, we still feel confident going into the Hounds. We feel confident going into every team. Anyone that's considered a top team or a bad team, we're going to be confident going into any of them. I would expect first game might be rough. After the first game, it'll be 3-0, but 3-1, maybe.
Some thoughts from Haddix as well at the end. First game might be rough, but after that it's a 3-0, so 3-1. Maybe. This is what he trails off with. I do like it, though, because you get to see, I think, two sides of the same coin, right? Oathhh pretty much saying, like, we still have a lot to work on. Like, we still got a lot to try and get to the trajectory that we would, or at least I was saying they were at. You go back into Masters. After the guffaw, kerfuffle, whatever you want to call it, that was the Warriors roster swap transition.
Yep.
That fumble. They were essentially the best team besides the Ferrymen. They took them all the way to 5. And so after those changes, it's kind of been chasing that and trying to get to that point again. And I think Oathhh is aware of that. As we heard, Haddix also very much aware of that, right? Confident going into this matchup. Who knows what the first game's going to expect. I think that they are, as we saw last week, prone to pick some more eclectic god choices and interesting roles like a Geb jungle. And we'll have to see how well they do, because the guy that they're going to be going up to is the guy who would be playing something eclectic like the Geb jungle. It's Screammmmm that Oathhh is going to have to deal with. But realistically, and we got to talk to them yesterday, if you weren't watching yesterday around noon, playing some games with the Ravens, with fan games, 5v5s in the studio, then you did a team check-in, which...
Where can they watch that if they haven't seen it?
If you haven't seen it, you should check out youtube.com/SMITEPro.
Okay.
For all that kind of content, that's like where the waiting room, where we actually talked with Haddix, is going to be as well. And if you want to catch it live, then make sure you're tuning in Thursdays at noon when we have either a role or a team. We bring them in here. Not only do you get to play with the pros, but you get to hear their thoughts on the meta, whatever other questions Myth ends up asking that sometimes are or might not be SMITE related.
Usually not.
Yeah, what they're hanging out, how are they enjoying their time outside of the game, a bunch of stuff like that. But this team, they're all really relaxed, it feels like a lot of the time. Obviously, when they get into the game, the competitive mindset switches on, but you can feel confidence in the play style. You can hear it in their comms, you can hear it in their interviews. This just feels like a team that knows they're good.
Yeah, they play a very opinionated squad as well. I mean, even with the team check-in a few days ago, it was essentially just Hurriwind and Screammmmm arguing with each other the entire time, and I got to sit there and chuckle as they did it. But still certainly a team that plays well together, and as you said, on game day, everybody on the exact same page. Screammmmm has impressed me mightily so far this phase. I know a lot of people are calling into question the God pool. He's in a similar conversational state as like guys like Susano. Why is he playing the weird stuff? Why is he building like he's building? Does he need to be initiating every single fight? And I'd argue yes, because in the last few weeks, Screammmmm has looked very good on some of these tankier picks. Always wants to be the first one into the fight. He'll let you know himself, I'm a playmaker, just play around me and I will win us the game. That is a quote from Screammmmm. I'm not sure whether or not how true it always is, but if you ask him, it's 100% of the time. And having that confidence on your team, always just a really good place to be. Having someone that is always saying, hey, look, I'll do it for us. It just simplifies the game. It makes you so much more relaxed. That confidence is infectious. And I think maybe that could be the biggest difference between the Ravens and the Hounds. Even in that conversation, we hear Oathhh, yeah, I mean, the team's like pretty confident, I think, maybe in our matchup. Like, the Ravens aren't like a top team. And then we go to Haddix and it's, yeah, I mean, we're going to 3-0, maybe 3-1.
Yep. You feel it. right? And like you said, contagious, I think, is the true key. You can feel it. And that's what, when we talk about like mental fortitude, especially through a best of 5, like that's where that really comes into the equation. As if you're confident, the way that we heard, as you had mentioned, Haddix, you can go down 2-0 and you're still probably in that, right? You're still like, okay, cool, now we just have to win 3. That's the only mentality that you can really afford. Have to see how well that either affects or, I guess, the negative version of effect, if there is a verb.
Also effect.
Yeah, effect for the Hounds. But it is Scream. The one that's really interesting, and this brings up a conversation we had when we were talking to Haddix yesterday on Waiting Room, is that because meta has shifted in favor of mages in solo right now, and not so much that they are the dominant only thing you can pick, but hey, you're probably going to go for that as much as you can.
Yeah.
It feels like that's enabled Scream to play, first off, the Naja, right? More set up to just let him fall down. But then, like, yeah, your Surters. I don't think I'm going to throw Geb on the list, but I'll say picks kind of like Geb. The setup, the tankier, that I'm going to be the one, like you said, initiating to try and balance out the fact that you've got this other squishy dude on the other side lane.
Yeah, and Scream has leveraged that playstyle so well, Gore. I mean, he is starting off so many of these fights. In the last 6 games, it's 5 tank games, but only 4 of which were actual tanks, or excuse me, 4 of which were assassins, only 1 of which was an actual tank. Yeah. It's just the itemization might trick you. He's going in on the Naja every single time, just burning beads. I'm remembering that match up against the Gladiators. I believe it was game 1, where it's just Sash. He's going to win Fire Wheels this time, right? No, I'm going to hold on to it. I got his beads. I got the next guy's beads, the next guy. Always that first point of contact in the team fight has made it even easier for guys like Hurriwind, who is still relatively new in role and support, to find some of that initiation. And it's something they'd actually talked about in the waiting room. It was a really interesting conversation point where Hurry's like, yeah, I don't want to start off every fight. If Scream's getting dunked by Thor, he's a tank anyway, and now I've got an easy way to initiate on a Thor, or I've got an easy way to go past him and make things happen. And that diversity in their team fight and how they want to get things started, I think, has made it very difficult to lock down the Ravens.
It opens them up to a different kind of style, and sometimes that's very difficult to try to adapt to. Hounds, as we jump into game 1, they're going to be the first pick team. So the Ravens are going to have to try and figure out how to counter pick them. This has been a huge thing I've been paying attention to so far this year. But it's evened out between first and second pick. Their bans so far: Oathhh, Ratatosker, and the very last one, someone that's not been uncommon, the Baba Yaga.
She belongs there.
Yeah, I don't want anybody on the Ravens. I don't want anybody playing her, actually.
Agreed.
I think I just maybe hard cut on that. The other side, Athena Yamoja, which both of those, specifically the Athena, has definitely been more on the rise. It feels like people have kind of recognized that global rotation kind of hurts when you don't have something to match it.
Look, I believe it was PBM that said it at the beginning of the phase, and Athena's a crutch pick. A lot of these support players are crutch picking Athena. You know, it's so simple, dash taunt. How hard can it be? He's right. I think I'm with him.
Oh, yeah.
Athena is just incredibly strong and incredibly good. And not only is it crutch pick on initiation, not only is she easy to execute on, but it's also positioning. And that's the most important thing. We'll see the pros push it to its absolute limit, getting involved in that soul lane with Athena ultimate, but also, hey, I was a little bit late to the team fight. Don't worry. You're initiated on. Here's additional damage mitigations. I'll dunk with damage, and then I'll come back in with the CC. So a very, very strong pick. I would argue, similarly, Chernobog in that conversation of crutch level of just strong. Oh, I'm late to the team fight. Oh, someone needs to go defend a Phoenix. Or, oh, maybe we should siege a Phoenix so it separates the fire giant a bit. I can drag someone over to me. Oh, don't worry. I'll be at the team fight anyway because everybody's got a shadow, and I jump into them.
I'm having flashbacks already to some of the Leviathans drafts. The very last game we just watched. Admittedly, it was Soul instead of the Chernobog. The Chernobog had been banned, but immediately answered with an Amma and a Raijin. So the Ravens get some really good power picks, as we've seen right now. Raijin has been just non-stop damage dealer, on the go, on the prowl, looking for fights. And that was actually one of the things I'd asked Haddix, was asking if I was a little crazy for thinking Pagon plays maybe a little too aggressive on him. And he goes, actually, no. Like, if you can dash in, like, he's long range, it feels great to be able to use your dash aggressively. That's something we've seen more out of solo, especially as of late because of the breastplate build. But we'll see how aggressive, presumably with an Amma on the team, Venenu gets with the Raijin. But, you know, sometimes you know what they say about assuming. So we'll have to find out as they roll through. Charon and Morgan Le Fay. And again, both of these picks, Mifflin, we actually just ended up seeing in that last game. Gladiators go for both of them. Morgan Le Fay, though, you, for a while, were a big fan of her. Then I think she ate some nerfs, kind of disappeared for a little while. Where do you think she stands in like the grand scheme right now?
I think of the standard mages in mid lane, she is in the conversation of still certainly very, very viable. Her poke potential is really good. She leverages the items that are popular right now very, very well. I really like her utility in team fight. We've been seeing a little bit more so pros lean in towards the slow in the Sigil Mastery, and it is ridiculous how much that could separate a jungle engagement. Her poke throughout the early game, if you're just using the clone, at level 1, if you use the clone at with the Sigil Mastery, you're guaranteed at least 2 auto attacks. That's like an additional 65, 70 some odd damage every single time. She hits deceptively hard, and she is incredibly hard to dive onto because of how quickly Dragonflight comes out. She has CC immunity in kit. I'm a massive Morgan Le Fay fan, and even looking at the composition as it stands, we don't necessarily know where this Morgan Le Fay is going just yet, and her flexibility has only made her even more potent. And beforehand, it was Morgan Le Fay's locked in, we're going mid, unless it's Scream, and then we might be going jungle. Now it's Morgan Le Fay's locked in, we're going mid, we might go solo, or we're going jungle, maybe if it Screams on the side.
Maybe if it's Scream. Yeah. Luckily for us, Scream's not on the Hounds, so we can at least eliminate one of those. But mid or solo, and you can see that actually affects the Ravens. They lock in the Anhur right afterward, which technically we've also seen played support so far this year. But they're bans, right? You have to figure out where you're going to go, what you're going to try and control. You get Thor and Sun Wukong from the Ravens. Meanwhile, it's Aphrodite and Naja on the other side. They lock in the Fafnir, which given the auto attackers on their squad feels good. But you were a little more interested in the Hera lock-in that the Hounds go for alongside this Batz.
Yeah, very immobile against a dive composition already starting to present itself on the side of the Ravens, even ignoring the Lancelot, which is even further dive. Amaterasu is going to run you down. Anhur is going to be there with long-range Desert's Fury. Fafnir's in your face the entire time, and Raijin is in that conversation too. So I was surprised to see such a volatile low peel god locked in for the mid lane. Hera, of course, does have good damage, does round out the team fight pretty well, and has decent threat on beads. And when you have a Charon on your team, this is something I talked about in Charon's first few weeks of release when you're seeing him a little bit more consistently. It seems like he's on the rise right now, by the way. You are lacking for consistent hard CC. Your ultimate's great, phenomenal at starting a team fight, great in those objective engagements, and even better on Phoenix fights because you essentially lock down the entire lane. But all of your CC essentially being tied to ultimate makes it a little bit harder on these longer engagements. So having Polymorph and Fear No Evil now to round out the draft for the Eldritch Hounds alleviates some of those concerns for me. Now you've got the beads burn, and I can see who's making use of the beads burn too.
Luckily for the Ravens as well. Yesterday they got some good practice against a Charon. Admittedly, it was on the arena map with 80% cooldown, and it was Trelly playing it, but they still had to play him, right? And so play against him, I should say. But this matchup, Mifflin, and specifically, like you said, having some of that extra CC coming from Hera, coming from the Batz, I'm going to throw Morgan Le Fay in there just because, like you said, when you dive on her, she's a little better at handling it.
She's faster. She's got unreactable CC. She's so good at dealing with dive.
Feels pretty good. Do you like, I guess, Hera or Morgan Le Fay in this case, knowing that those kind of matchups into, I guess, one into Raijin, one into Amma? Where would you rather send them?
Man, if I could have chose 2 Morgan Le Fays, I would have.
Yeah.
I think she's better in both roles. But up against Amaterasu, you just really don't want Hera over there. There's just no response to the, hey, I got dashed on, and she's tankier, and she's about to hit me with all of her auto attacks. So I think just fine to go ahead and put the Morgan Le Fay over in the soul lane and then have Hera lock it down in mid.
And you know what? I anticipate that seems, for some reason, it feels more natural, right? Fits like a glove for what we've been seeing for him. We got to look at the other side, though, because there's a few things that we've been seeing and have been doing well. But I want to talk about the Fafnir, maybe more than anything, because Fafnir, it feels like
he's back.
He's not only back, but like real good at facilitating people who like to auto attack. And they got a few of those on the Ravens, so it feels kind of like it leans heavily into the style that they've gone for their draft. But it does bring similar issues you had mentioned to the Charon, where he's got the hammer, and then if he transforms, he's got Dragon Spin. And
yeah.
There you go. That's his CC, and it hits the one dude, and that's it. So we'll have to see how the Ravens try to adapt for that, how they control that. So we jump down to game number 1 with J-Mac and Trelly.
Thank you so much, Gore and Mifflin on the desk. That's right, it's J-Mac Trelly And Doug here for game number 1 between the Eldritch Hounds and the Highland Ravens. We'll be seeing the Morgan Le Fay go to solo as anticipated by the desk, but I think I want to bring into discussion, Charlie, a bit about Hera. Did get a buff coming into this patch, a little bit helping her out more than anything else, trying to bring this god back to the forefront. Immediately I saw this buff, my mind went, cool, as soon as the Dragons play, Darda is going to be all over this pick. Strange maybe seeing BennyQ be the first one to bring the god out.
I mean, Hera is a good time, especially into a pick like Raijin. You know, you drop Argus, he tries to dash away, interrupt it. Immediately after, you're going to polymorph, he tries to dash away, you're going to interrupt it. And then usually you can 100-0 before there's ever any chance. Ven has to pre-beads and dash away to get away from Argus. The issue becomes when you're not ahead, and Ven can just dash in aggressively and sort of all-in you before you all-in him. We'll have to see how that matchup goes, but from ahead, I think BennyQ is going to have a good time in this matchup if he's able to get a lead. The only issue, of course, is the fact that Oathhh is on Hun Batz. Not going to be the best early pressure, not going to be able to, you know, sit around and sort of babysit in mid lane. Much like a Lancelot has the ability to do, has more, you know, damage early, has more setup for a kill. So I don't think that playing through mid lane is on the top of Oathh's radar, but certainly a pick that he could try and play through. More so later on when level 5 comes around.
You get to see already that Mez put to use. Oathhh tries to go in for the overhead smash on wave, and instantly Venenu Thunder crashes in, stops that wave clear, and gives him and Screammmmm a little bit of pressure to keep up their fight, putting Oathhh down to about that half HP threshold. But I think for me, and for the Eldritch Hounds, the areas that I really would like to see kind of that step up for has kind of been BennyQ in the mid a bit, pushed back by Screammmmm. Dash from Screammmmm used, one onto Oathhh, one onto the minions. But I think seeing that aggressive style of play from BennyQ that we kind of grew accustomed to at the beginning of the year, kind of at the end of Season 9, and then really this dual lane, for me, that's where I've really been seeing a lot of the struggle of this Hound squad.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, NeilMahs do have some pretty top-tier selections here, though. I mean, you get your hands on Chernobog and Charon. Not going to be the greatest early fight, but team fight-wise should be pretty solid, especially if Stu's able to ult in, do some engagements over in mid, or even towards solo at level 5. I'd like to see Stu get active if possible, but you're right. Fighting up against Zapman on the Anhur isn't going to be too easy. Hurriwind as well. They've got a lot of hard CC with this Fafnir. So it doesn't really bode well for an aggressive start to the match, but once you're looking towards these team fights, once you look towards rotations, that's where NeilMah and Stu are really going to shine. That's where they have the ability to try and fight. But if you look, the Highland Ravens, I mean, Hurriwind shows his hand very early with the Frenzy. Obviously, when you pick Fafnir, Objective Shred's going to be on your mind. But when you go Fafnir and start Frenzy, you almost don't care about lane. You're looking to go for Gold Fury pretty much immediately.
You're kind of holding up a giant sign that just says, Objectives, Gold Fury, Pyromancer. Like, that's where we want to go. That's the idea when you see this early of selection. Ducky pushing Haddix toward the tower, but now it's a gank onto Ducky. Pops the beads early during the fight. It's already the dash by Screammmmm. And the follow damage is in there. Now with Oathhh on the way, not level 5 for the bots just yet, so no access to ultimate, but the dash is back up for Screammmmm. That gets him under tower. Oathhh just a little too late to try and get a kill for himself.
And not enough damage there from Haddix, but Oathhh still wants this blue buff invade. All you can really do is pull it under your tower and hope there's no steal potential. Looks like there wasn't. The Sacred Monkey Toss not going to be enough. I like the attempt, though. I mean, you get a little bit of aggression there. You pull the blink from Oathhh, and you also get just a little bit of relics over in the solo lane. Ducky losing his beads as well means another gank could be successful. The issue is, Ducky's on Morgan Le Fay. He's going to have plenty of sustain trying to poke him down. Not very easy for Haddix. This Ama definitely loses a good portion of this lane, if not pretty much all of the lane. You're not picking Ama to, you know, dominate these mage solos. You're picking her to rotate out and provide that passive towards objectives.
Frenzy used by Hurriwind to confirm shield buff, of all things. Not even to try and get pressure inside the wave, just for those last couple of hits on the buff. They guarantee it, so it's not a wasted relic used by Hurriwind. But this is, I think more than anything, this is what I love seeing on these Frenzy pickups. So many times we'll see supports go for a Frenzy early, and then we never see it used until you get to like an objective or a major team fight. Hurriwind goes into the ultimate early, just to help clear out the wave, but seeing these Frenzies just used almost essentially on cooldown just to get faster wave clear, faster buffs, love seeing this relic usage.
Yeah, Hurriwind does ult. because Scream's nearby. Like, there is a Lancelot in the jungle, but it doesn't seem like a tower dive is the best call. Lose that Draconic Transformation, you lose your fight attempt over on the left side of the map. And Stuart and Neil are playing it just like you should. The second you see that dragon, you back up. You don't fight into it. You wait it out. Not that long of a transformation at level 5. Once you put more points in that ability, it gets longer and longer until you're a dragon for a full minute. But right now, you can just back up and sort of wait out that transformation just to make sure there's no more kill potential or you're not losing your beads on the Stu, who I don't think he's even used a potion. Yeah, he probably used one potion and has just been sitting back just to show how passive Stuart has been playing. It looks like he just left base besides his gooseberry stacks. He has not taken any sort of poke, just been sitting underneath that tower. And this is sort of the issue we've been having with some of the Hounds players is how much they want to go towards this passive play. It's not like you want to get aggressive towards Anhur, but shield buff has been going pretty much uncontested towards the Highland Ravens, decides a little bit of steal attempt from NeilMah. But now, you can tell Oathhh comes over the left side of the map, and it looks like that might be enough just to grab that buff for himself.
Yeah, Haddix goes a bit aggressive up against Ducky, trying to keep him at bay. Meanwhile, on the left side, we did see that rotation from Oathhh. Gets the shield buff confirmed. Now for the Eldritch Hounds, I think that's the first of those two that have been confirmed for the Order side team. It's been very quiet from our junglers so far this game, outside of the initial mid 2v2 skirmish, Scream and Oathh's rotation over to the right side of the map that end up netting in nothing so far. It's been quiet from our junglers. Scream still trying to play a bit active. Goes with a blue buff, loses out on a Fear No Evil from Oathhh, but Scream's got an ultimate as soon as he gets back to safety. Immediately able to utilize that Grand Joust, gets himself back to the safety of Tier 1.
Yeah, BennyQ is close by as well. Any longer and may have been caught out there, but Scream plays it well, even though he was lazy backing a bit, does end up just Grand Jousting out. Didn't want to gamble with any more of Oath's damage. Pretty slow start to the early game as you highlighted, but I tend to think around 12 minutes is when most of these games start to pick up anyways. I mean, you look towards mid lane, Book of Thoth picked up. That means stacking up, trying to get that extra flat pen online as quickly as possible is going to be the call. Same with Oathhh, going for Transcendence. It's not like you have to play back, but you'd rather just get those items stacked up, get the evolved form of them before you tend to get aggressive. The only place I can see getting active is, of course, the solo lane ganks that we've seen attempted, not really come anything from it except for pulling Ducky's beads, or this shield buff, which has been pretty active so far. A lot of rotations towards it, but not too much fighting. It's actually just 50-50 the buff. This time around, the Highland Ravens pick it up, and they just decide to leave afterwards. It doesn't really, you don't really see the ultimates come through. It's just, hey, we're going to 50-50 the buff and leave. That's all that's been happening.
Hurriwind, find the hammer against Stu. Full ultimate channeled from Zapman. And Stu sitting underneath the tower. A jump away by Oathhh, but a crash in from the mid, and the jungle ultimate's used, and Venenu will strike first blood with the Taiko drum. Stuart up to the sky, though. Where's the collapse in? It's on top of Scream. He may just be sacrificed for the rest of his squad. Can't get out this time. And it's BennyQ to return the favor. A kill each for the mid laners.
I mean, definitely a fight the Highland Ravens forced. You didn't have to dive tower there, but with the rotation in, you're okay with the first blood. Just a little unfortunate that Scream ends up falling there. Didn't hate the dive, though. You know, it seems like the Highland Ravens are like, you know what, we picked Fafnir. We are using this Draconic Transformation no matter what. They're able to grab the first kill onto Oathhh there. But you trade out, and both mid laners are able to pick it up. But giving first blood to Venenu is a big deal. This Raijin can have so much just damage across the map, especially with how much fighting has been going on. Highland Ravens haven't even left yet. They're still getting aggressive, and here comes Oathhh. Fear No Evil's up. Who's he going to go on, though? He's got Blink. Sacred Monkey tosses off. Zapman is going to hold on to his relics and everything after that one. You want to go for the ult, but Oathhh isn't able to force the same engagement that was just forced onto him.
Scream gonna take a lap through the jungle, see what farm is available. The answer is, well, nothing, really. A single roaming harpy felt like to be taken. Maybe a blue buff invade that's being drugged through the tower. Scream trying to steal this one, and he does! Oh no, unless the tower was the one that confirmed that one, I think that Haddix was actually able to get that for himself. So Ducky gonna miss out on that XP. Did everything he could to pull that one away. Dragged it all the way under tower, all the way to the opposite side. Still wasn't enough. Scream and Haddix dive in, take that one away. But Ducky's still getting aggressive inside the jungle. Scream's all by himself. He's got ultimate. and will have to use it to get away, but he's got to be careful because NeilMah's nearby. Does have the ultimate, or does not have the ultimate on the Charon. Does have some decent
He's
CC.
going to stop his back.
He might just do so.
Okay, no,
Scream will
no
be
way.
able to get back into tier 1, so he's fine for now, but Scream, his pathing in this jungle has been very aggressive, and he's been punished for it nearly every time.
Yep, cannot be caught out in the enemy jungle. BennyQ makes those half rotations as well just to make sure that there's some form of punishment for Scream stepping that far forward. I mean, if you're gonna attempt a blue buff steal from behind the enemy tower at 9 minutes in, I would hope there's at least one rotation over, right? Especially if that's my blue buff. If I'm Ducky, I'm pinging him. Going, he's right here, he's right here, he's right here, hasn't left yet. Come on, guys. And that's exactly what happens. Everyone rotates over and at least forces the grand joust out of Scream. But with Hurriwind playing so aggressive, you'd think Gold Fury is on the minds of the Highland Ravens. It's just not easy with Stuart being able to fly in at any moment, even if he gets poked out, which he's not, but even if he was. He's never gone for too long. Oathhh is matching the rotation of Scream this time. I do want to see a Blink Fear No Evil just to try and force something. Oathhh has been very passive so far on this Hun Batz. Doesn't need to, though. The Highland Ravens, they decided to give this one up and retreat, so no need to force that ultimate at that point. Beads are nice, but might as well just retreat and take your free buff.
Aggressive dash by Neil once again. Now, force Hurriwind to rotate over. Give a little bit of support over to Zapman in the dual lane, but I'm liking to see. I'm loving the more aggressive nature out of the Eldritch Hounds now. For the last couple of sets, it's really felt like they've just been kind of playing the game, letting things happen around them. Stu's just been sitting passively inside the lane, not getting a whole lot. Neil's just been rotating wherever he's needed, but the biggest problem I've noticed with NeilMah in some of the recent sets was that he's just losing out on so much farm comparatively to some of the other supports in the league. So I like that, seeing that not only is Neil staying aggressive, but he's also maintaining at least even an XP.
Take a look at Zapman's build. He's telegraphing exactly what he wants, right? Not even going for like a fail nod or attempting to go for some sort of pen early and switching into the crit. Just first item, or after the dev gauntlet, is going right into the crit chance. Wants it as early as possible, trying to box up against Stu. Isn't fearful that Ducky's going to build into the Spectral, because most of these mage solos, their builds are pretty linear, right? You're going to need a Genjis, you're going to need a Typhons. The last item is really the only one you want to switch up, and a lot of time, these solo laners like to go for more damage. So if Ducky is forced into the Spectral, sure, he's going to have a lot better time up against Zapman. But Scream, Haddix, Ven, they don't really care too much about the Spectral armor. So I don't hate this call. It's just a little bit more of an expensive build path than usual, and it doesn't give you that many meaningful stats early. Possibly the Demon Blade, that was picked up or buffed a little bit ago, and it will be. So Demon Blade finished as we see a little bit of a scrap for the beacon.
Neil and Benny nearby, dash away by Neil, but he'll hold on to the point along with Hurriwind. It's majority capped for the Highland Ravens. They're going to try and keep the Eldritch Hounds off it. I think just the chip damage that Venenu has on the Raijin was enough to keep the Hounds at bay, and the Highland Ravens will cap the first beacon. But as is the nature of any Fafnir comp in a rotation from solo, it's straight to the Gold Fury for the Highland Ravens. It's got to be a fast answer from the Hounds, because this Gold Fury is melting. Not a chance for the Hounds to even get to that team fight. A tidal wave in for NeilMah is about all they've got, and it was a little too late. Highland Ravens, they get not only the beacon, but first Gold Fury.
They grab it, but Ducky didn't rotate out. He was able to grab the tier 1 tower over on right. He recognized pretty much immediately that he had no way of matching that rotation. Speaking of Haddix, didn't have a teleport, didn't have any sort of, way to get across the map, and said, you know what, guys, I'm going to stay over on right and just split push. So not all bad for the Eldritch Hounds. Surely not great to lose that much gold all in one swing, but still relatively close in the fact that you could still fight in if you need to. But that just goes to show. I mean, when you have everything falling into place with the double Shoguns, the Draconic Transformation, the Frenzy, and the rotation in from Haddix, that's going to be a big deal. That Gold Fury gets absolutely melted, and that can happen to just about any objective. Now that we know that Zapman's building crit as well, this Fire Giant later on is going to absolutely melt. So I got my eyes on the ward coverage around the map, just to make sure that from now on, the Eldritch Hounds know when an objective is being pulled, or at least when it can be pulled. But it's the Ravens who have their vision on the Pyromancer already. I don't think you send Zapman over here this early on. He actually fell a level behind. So you see an ultimate on the Haddix. Shouldn't take too much damage here, and I believe was able to steal away the blue buff as well. That's unlucky. Ducky really did not like that. He tried to chase as far as possible, but too little, too late.
So now with Haddix getting out of that one, stealing a buff. Didn't even need to use ultimate.
Nope.
Doesn't have beads. He took the full duration of Fear No Evil and every bit of damage, but he's just a bit too tanky. Going for that invade, and now it's a wrap back around. Ducky uses ultimate, has his beads if need be, but he might just have to hold on to them for the next chance to go. Dragonflight's good, but ultimate from Scream goes right through the wave of NeilMah. And Haddix and Hurriwind are going forward. Hurriwind transforms into the draconic form and is now going in for a fight up against the rest of them. Oathhh has found his way into the fight, and Stu has even joined the mix. Hurriwind might be the one who goes down here. No jump, no life left. Stu picks up the kill, the second one for the Eldritch Hounds.
Yeah, that's the benefit of Stuart being able to fly over. That should be a Pyromancer pull here for the Eldritch Hounds. All the while, Scream and Oathhh taking a 1v1. Scream doesn't quite have the chase down potential, but the blink is available. Are you really going to go for the tower dive? Of course he is. It's Scream.
Gets the dash up onto the horse
wow, the
to
shield.
absorb most of it with the shield. And Scream will live, gets the 1v1 solo kill up against Oathhh. The Pyromancer, wait, was that Pyromancer actually taken by the Ravens off that?
No.
The Eldritch Hounds lost everything in that. They got a kill in the previous fight.
Ben's got Runic Bomb. No.
But it's the Highland Ravens who come out with everything else. 2 kills for them and a Pyromancer steal. Unfortunate circumstances for the Eldritch Hounds. Even Haddix taking a tower in a 2-level lead in solo.
And Oathhh had Blink. I mean, he had like a couple different ways to outplay Scream there, but Scream pre-autoed his Blink just to make sure that there was no reaction time that Oathhh could have to make him get out of that one. And Haddix takes a tier 1 tower. Oh, big swing in favor of the Highland Ravens on top of an already extremely aggressive play. And I love that from Stuart, right? Him flying over, using the Chernobog ult to their advantage. That's a good play. Sure, Zapman gets some free farm. You lose a tier 1 tower over on left, but your team really does need that extra pressure from the Chernobog early on. The issue is afterwards, right? You go for the Pyromancer, you let Ben seal it away, you lose the tier 1 in right, Zapman still gets a tier 1 over in left. That's why this gold just ballooned out of control. And that's why the Highland Ravens are getting ready for a pull already on the Primal Fury. Left side of the map is where the most of them want to be. It's about to spawn in here. Look at the ward coverage as well. Look at the red dots on your map. That is all Ravens vision on the left side.
Take a look at what Scream wins second item.
Shadow
in his
Drinker,
build.
man.
Jotun's into Shadow Drinker. We might get a chance to talk about that later. For now, Scream's got to get out of danger. Does have Grand Joust. And that's the bailout. Now Hurriwind surrounded by 3+ an Argus. But the Eldritch Hounds will not continue forward. What are your thoughts on Shadow Drinker? Because it came out and everybody went, wow, this item's going to be crazy. And then we never really saw it. A couple of niche pickups here and there. As dash by Haddix does get caught. Jump by Oathhh slows him down. Fear No Evil is there. He'll use the full duration plus a wave coming in after. It's a lot of damage in CC to Haddix, and he finally goes down. But it cost so much time. He bought so much space for the Highland Ravens to regroup themselves. Even Hurriwind pushed under fire. Fury coming up. That's got to be the beeline for the Eldritch Hounds.
Yeah, feels like a little bit overconfident there to not pull the Dazzling Offensive. Hurriwind goes in the transformation in the backline, but the Highland Ravens, they're still stepping up. They want to try and steal this, and the Eldritch Hounds figure it out. They can't go in for the true 50-50, not yet. Hurriwind, though, he's getting weak.
Goes up the stun. Procs the slow to the rest of the squad. Now BennyQ surrounded. 2v1. Damage from Zapman. Not quite enough. And the horse misses too. Scream's got to really dive for this kill, and he'll get it with that Grand Joust. But now he's in the middle of everybody. Dive in, a root onto Stu. Has the dash 1. Doesn't have the second one for the remaining damage. Oathhh is low, and Venenu takes him down. Double kill for the mid laner of the Highland Ravens. 6 now on the board. And the objective the Hounds started up, they couldn't even finish.
Yeah, no way. The Highland Ravens are still going for the pull here, but Ducky is on a ward. Zapman wants to leap in, and he's going to do it. Impales Ducky away. That should be enough to confirm the Primal Fury. And the Highland Ravens are going to grab that one and back up. All the while, Haddix is able to grab another tier 1 tower, the last one, and grab the wand fight after. I mean, this all starts from Haddix getting picked, and again, had the Dazzling Offensive, didn't feel like Oathh's ult demanded enough respect. But once you chain that with the River of Styx, and then once Ducky rotates in, that's just too much CC. And the Amaterasu falls down. But Hurriwind ults at like 30% HP, still sticks around in that engagement. The Eldritch Hounds just want to get Primal Fury and get out. But thanks to Scream, thanks to Ven, and now thanks to a Fire Giant pull, the Ravens are still in the driver's seat.
Frenzy popped by Haddix, crash in by Venenu. Ducky's health bar melting and gone. Venenu gets one in the fight, and now Stu is joined in. Scream's in danger, has to use the Joust to get out as Haddix continues to zone. Hurriwind has dove in, doesn't have the Dragon form, but doesn't need it because Haddix and Zapman have so much damage. A full Desert's Fury, a leap in by Zap, nets him a kill. 3 for the Highland Ravens, and right back to fire the team goes.
With 3 dead, that's going to be an easy Fire Giant pull for the Highland Ravens. I don't care how weak Hurriwind is. You've got the Draconic Transformation. You've got the Ama passive. And this Fire Giant will definitely be falling down here before 20 minutes as well. Did not seem like the start of this game, considering how slow it was with net. This early of a Fire Giant, this early of a lead. I mean, but take a look at Ven's build in particular. Just double flat pen into Obshard. He is building just to kill. Like, this is not survivability. This is not, you know, for the actual CC that Raijin can provide. This is just, I want damage. I haven't seen him taunt or fear with Taiko drums once. This is just, I want as much DPS as possible. And that's what's been happening. Ven, first one to hit level 20. Haddix and Scream not too far behind. And now the Highland Ravens in a commanding position with a 10,000 gold lead already. I mean, 3 tier 2 towers to go. What I don't want to see is a full split up. I don't want someone's pushing over in right lane. Just group left and mid and look for these tier 2s. It's not like Phoenix is going to be easy to grab. But with Zapman finishing up Deathbringer and no one looking too tanky on the side of the Eldritch Hounds, the damage dealers on the Highland Ravens are going to have a field day once they group up.
Not a Spectral in sight. Third item damage for NeilMah going towards Chronos Pendant, pulling from the Jake playbook of how he likes to build his Charon. Ducky going for more damage in his. No magic defense. No wonder Venenu just melted through his health bar. There's not an ounce of magical defense there to deal with it. Usually you see the Genshi Scar, but it's Typhon's Fang right after the breastplate. So now Venenu's got a great target, and pretty much anybody whose name isn't NeilMah, and even then it might be dicey for the Eldritch Hounds. A 5 versus 4 on the left. Stu split pushing. The tier 2 tower can fly back at any moment. He's gonna channel the back. The tidal wave hits 4. Venenu's in a lot of danger from the Argus damage, but Scream and Haddix in the backline have caused too much havoc. It's a double kill for the solo of the Highland Ravens, but the health bars are low on their side. Could not get the Phoenix yet. Back up and regroup with the wave for the next push.
They've got Fire Giant regen. Stuart ulted in from right lane, but already sieging forward is Haddix, and Stuart has to dive into the wall. Scream isn't letting you get out that easy. With the relics, he's still gonna fall down. Stu should have stayed over in right lane.
Haddix picks up 3 straight to the Titan. The Highland Ravens go. They only needed the 1 Phoenix, but Oathhh is back up. Doesn't have ultimate. NeilMah doesn't have his ult. He used it at the beginning of the fight. The Titan is down to under half HP. The Highland Ravens Scream. He's got too much damage. Double kill for him and a kill on the Titan. 22 minutes. The Ravens close out game 1.
J-Mac, that is a ridiculous pace. Again, we had like no fighting until past 10 minutes. All of this game just came through from 10 to 20 minutes, basically. That's what everything really heated up. The Highland Ravens showed. Again, they showed their hand. Early crit from Zapman. Frenzy start into Shoguns from Haddix and Hurriwind. They said, we're going for objectives. We're going to do it quickly, and there's nothing you can do to stop us, so you better try and fight. Turns out the other towns couldn't even win the fight, and that was when they got a pick onto Haddix. That was a 5v4 on that Primal Fury that ends up just going so wrong. And the Pyromancer steal on top of 2 tier 1 towers. That was the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, I think that's the big kind of turning point for me. Was a 1v1 fight was fine. Sure, if you lose Scream in that one, the 2-for-1's not as bad because you got the Pyromancer. Except they didn't get the Pyromancer, and Zapman split push a tower, and then Scream takes a tower after that with Haddix. And it's just all Highland Ravens this time. They went out in game number 1. We'll see about game number 2 right after this.
our dreams we always fight, 'cause we never worked it out. It just kinda slipped through our hands. And I never really said that you hurt me, no instead. I just try to understand. It was so exhausting, so I lost it, had to make it stop. Didn't really feel like giving you the chance to make it up. You asked me what's the problem, to be honest, it was you. That's the truth. It really was such a bad plan, 'cause I really think you wanted me to stay. Everything you did, it finally pushed me away. Told everyone my secrets, though I begged for you to keep it to yourself. Thought that you could buy my love, but I don't want that at all. You know I don't care about that. It was so exhausting, so I lasted, had to make it stop. Didn't really feel like giving you the chance to make it up. You asked me what's the problem, to be honest, it was you. That's the truth. It really was such a bad plan, 'cause I really think you wanted me to stay. Everything you did, it finally pushed me away.
Ah, all right. About time it got interesting around here. It's okay to be impressed. Wiki wiki. Don't worry, I gotcha. Ha ha ha.
That's right, Maui's making a splash in more way than one right now. You can go to advance.gg, you can pick up a shaker, and of course the new flavor, Maui's Tropical Splash. Very important to note, speech, strawberry and peach flavored. Tried to put them together. That's exactly what the flavor does. Very, very delicious. Brings the tropical. I know it's getting cold out there. You want to keep the summer vibes going. This is the best way to do it. And of course, the shaker, I have to admit, I am 1000% biased towards it because I love that color, and I love the color gradient that it has on there.
What color is that?
Well, it's kind of like a blue to I guess a light cyan.
Yeah, all I know is every time I've ever seen whatever that color is, I'll say it's either turquoise or teal, depending on the day.
Yeah.
And it sparks a massive debate.
I feel like turquoise and teal are darker. Like if you took that top
See,
shade
it's happening
on the
right
glass,
now. Yeah, it was going to happen.
Dialed it down, but the bottom's like too blue. It's very oceany, is the way. Like,
Yeah,
imagine,
that's
okay.
seafoam green. Duh.
Yeah, duh. Miff, here's the better way to look at it, which is if you are taking a drink out of that cup, you've got the shore right here, and it goes out to the deep ocean towards the bottom of the cup. And that's exactly the way to look at it, and that's exactly what it gets you. Again, thanks to advance.gg for all the wonderful flavors of all the wonderful cups. I blew Miff's mind, and unfortunately for the Hounds, the Ravens blew them out of the water. Bringing it back to the splash thing, right? We're keeping it all related somehow here. They just look really good, Miff. Early on, kill-wise, you see it like 2-2, things like that.
I just caught what you were doing.
Gold lead. The gold lead, just absolutely, though, on the Ravens, runs rampant, right? Gold Fury, Pyromancer, objective. The Hounds just never caught up.
Yeah, even with the Hounds having a bit of fight back in the absolute earliest portions of that game, even when slash lines were overall pretty decent, gold never was. Experience never was. The Highland Ravens were winning out so consistently in map presence, in neutral farm, mid camps for the most part, always going their way. I'm not sure how many shield buffs the Eldritch Hounds ever saw. The Highland Ravens just had a little bit more in the tank to play with by the time an actual team fight had rolled around. Really liked what I'd seen from Screammmmm. We saw a few times he even throughout even earlier portions of the game was diving into these towers and just utilizing the HP shielding from his ultimate or from just mounting up on the horse to tank up shots early on. Played very well around some of those Lancelot exclusive tech options. Otherwise, rotations were perfect. Ven proves that Raijin isn't just a solo laner anymore. You could go full damage on him, and it does a lot of damage. Top to bottom, great game there for the Highland Ravens, who ended incredibly fast. Egg on my face. I thought we were in for some super long games. I thought, especially with like NeilMah passive in play, I thought, you know, he makes everyone earn it absolutely. And that's not to say the Ravens didn't earn it. They did. It was
They just earned it
dominant.
fast.
It just happened way faster than I was expecting.
So what we're learning, you know, I remember at one point you had said, first off, that was a sick double kill to get. I didn't realize, I saw him get the kill. I did not realize it was with the last hit of of dazzling offensive on both. So fantastic there from Haddix again, 4-1 and 5. It feels like, you know, as you have said in the past, you accuse the Dragons of being like hourly. Ravens are not. They're salaried, get in, get the job done, try to get out as quick as possible. And they get that win, like you said, pretty fast, 21 minutes in. Beautiful slash lines for everybody, good damage. For a long time, you know, you go 15 minutes in, I believe you drop the pin right there. It's 2-2 in terms of kills, but it's still 3,000, 4,000 gold lead for the Ravens. I think that's really kind of the impressive thing. When we talk about the Gladiators, we look at their set. You know, it's almost too repeated, but they've got really good early game, and they keep pace. You know, we had said coming into this, Oathhh needs to hit the ground running, and unfortunately for him, I just didn't really get to see too much out of the Hunbats.
Yeah, he hit the ground.
Yeah.
Face first. Ate some dirt there. It was a little tough on that Hunbots to get things rolling. What I'm seeing now from the last few Hunbots games that we've had the pleasure of viewing in the SPL is these Hunbots players nowadays are not spamming Fear No Evil enough. I just want to see that ultimate on cooldown. That's all I want. You got to be willing to just go into the mid lane, burn a set of beads, and say, hey, that's the next time I'm here, you're going to really suffer. Or do it in the duo lane, or do it in the soul lane. Do it everywhere you need. I'm seeing a whole lot of holding on to some of these abilities, saying, man, when their beads are down, just wringing their hands like villains. Like, when those beads are down, hoo-wee, I'm going to come back. I'm going to make it work. Someone's got to do it, though. Someone's got to be the beads burner. And Hunbots has the easiest time doing it. So I just need to see a little bit more willingness to utilize your resources to burn resources.
Well, things are going to shake up here. Game 2, Ravens will be the first pick team. Bands already flying through for them. Ratatoskr, Athena, and Opwash are what they don't want to have to deal with. And, of course, that means we'll not be first picking here. The other side, Chernobog, makes sense what we've been seeing. Baba Yaga, as you had said, you don't want to see her. And so the Hounds with one more TBD. You know, Yamoja's been pretty high on some lists and not high on other lists, but I feel like Hurry's got enough of a Yamoja that you have to be a little threatened by it. But it's kind of that weird question to you is like, is she still as good?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that should be the answer.
Yeah. No.
Like,
and if you want any more confirmation on how good Yamoja is, not to continue plugging it, but we did a team check-in with the Ravens just yesterday.
You don't even have to do the team check-in. Watch the assault game.
Watch the assault game. You could, yeah, there was a lot of Yamoja content yesterday, and a lot of it was not even like brought up by me. Nobody asked about Yamoja. Just Hurry and Scream and Van just they shared their thoughts on how good that character is for a few minutes. Completely unasked, and I agree. Yamoja is real good, so nice ban by the Eldritch Hounds.
It was. I will admit, it was kind of on us. Like, it was admittedly completely random draft, but once they got Yamoja in the game mode where we quite literally had infinite mana, yeah, that didn't work out well for the caster side of things. The Ravens loved it, and they're gonna love this too. They lock in Raijin, first pick, and Mifflin. You know, it used to be one of those things, especially you go back. 2 years ago at this point, right? We're in Season 10. In Season 8. Around this time of year, it was the pick for Shinto more than anybody. But not a lot of people were running Raijin. You always knew where he was going to go. Right now, though, that's a mid laner. That's a solo laner. He's going to be anywhere. And so it gives some versatility to the Ravens. Morgan Le Fay, Soul get locked in beyond that. And Soul has been in that conversation as well. We've seen a lot more magical carries kind of entering this conversation. Do you think it makes sense for her to be this high up, though, in priority?
I think when you lock in Soul, whatever lane she finds herself in, and it's likely ADC here, is just about guaranteed pressure.
Yeah.
And guaranteed pressure in SMITE, to me, is just one of the absolute best things you can have. You knock down the bastions early, you can control the neutral farm. Duo lane is the most important lane for the first 12 to 13 minutes of the game. So having one god that essentially guarantees your ability to play through that lane is incredibly valuable. So I agree. Soul pick, high up, do it every single time unless Chernobog, Raijin, or Athena, or Yamoja. If one of those four is available, get them first. If not, Soul's great.
And luckily for the Hounds, or maybe I guess for the Ravens, Soul was the one that falls through. And it forces a change-up. Kuzenbo is locked in. Someone who we've been seeing slowly but surely on the rise the
That's
last
a jungle.
couple of weeks. You think it's a jungle?
No.
Oh. Okay. So, wait, what? No.
I lied. What are you going to do about it?
Oh, I genuinely don't know. I don't think I have any power to do anything about it. Yeah, no, yeah, okay. Maybe it's jungle, maybe it's not.
Probably not.
Rom gets locked in the side. We have seen Kuzenbo in solo lane, though, right? And I guess there was, like, maybe he could be somebody in the jungle conversations with you as of right now, but do you feel like he has a place that he stands maybe the tallest?
Anywhere you could build full tank feels pretty decent on Kuzenbo. It is very difficult
a lot of roles right now.
for mages to deal with them. It's really difficult for hunters. Just pop your 2, stand in front of them, remove them from the game. So when I see Kuzenbo, I look at the other 4 members of the team and think to myself, are they self-sufficient in the team fight? Because Kuzenbo is not exactly there to facilitate.
He's not
the squad.
helping you out.
He's not there to help you. I mean, he'll push one guy into a wall, and he'd really like it if you were also hitting that guy, but he didn't think about it like that. He said, I just want to push him into the wall. The best Kuzenbo can do in a team fight to help out his own team is Watery Grave in the back line, disrupt the dive on the other side. I'm not seeing a whole lot of dive from the Eldritch Hounds, so I'm seeing a whole lot of diving in Kuzenbo's future.
And we saw, like you said, Rom locked in with him. Maui, not just a new flavor, a new shaker, but also in this game, locked in 3rd for the Hounds. Of course, if you want to pick up either the flavor or the shaker, you can go to advance.gg. If you want to play Maui in the SPL, though, you got to put in a lot of hours and grind some to get here. I'm excited to see what he has. Very, very prominent pick towards the end of last year. And we'll see how much it holds. Bans come through for the Hounds, Amaterasu, Kamazot's. Other side, it was the Ra, which is a direct ban against BennyQ, and then Oathh's 4 was taken away. Oathhh has then opted into the Serqet.
What happened this week?
Well, I'll tell you a couple of them. And at least one of them is an E-Shell buff. Maui
E-Shell buff makes sense.
had a small buff as well, right? Decreased the self-slow on his Master Fisherman. Decreased the cooldown on his ult. The more you level it up, the less it has. So there's a couple things in there. But it is definitely shaking things up. E-Shell, if this gets locked in, is one that I'm really excited to see. We saw it a little bit earlier, but she just has not really touched the meta since her release. We saw her, I think Paul played her, and we might have literally seen the 2nd game total earlier today. Like, she's not very oft gone to.
Yeah, Ixchel's in a weird spot right now in that she's a really good poke mage, but there are a lot of really good poke mages in the game, and she's like an okay healer. She's like a bad healer. She's not even okay, really. So if I want a healer, I'd rather go towards a dedicated one. If I want a long-range nuker, I'd rather grab a dedicated one. Ixchel's somewhere in the middle ground. But with some of her most recent buffs, even further increasing her poke potential, longer range on that enhanced auto attack, a little bit additional damage, having damage mitigation, the ultimate makes sense to me. Maybe you want to see her a little bit more often. But when I was thinking about guaranteed range damage, I don't get much better than that guy.
Yeah, Thoth locked in for him. Throw up your
Dude, what is going on this
set.
week? Ullr got buffed. It's not that much. It's
Yeah,
not that much, bro. Like, he was universally agreed on by every hunter that I've spoken to be like worst hunter, like straight up just worst. And now he's got like 10 more power just about, like, and he's back, I guess. I don't super agree. I mean, 6-item upgraded bluestone, like, he hits hard, but
5% damage scaling on his thrown axe, though.
oh yeah, man,
Like,
that's big. That's big.
Do you think, because, these were, I guess, swapped overall, having the buff in your long range, your bow form, be the attack speed buff versus like now the physical power being on the axis. Like, does that change too much? They lasted, like it was swapped not too long ago that the buff lasted when you swapped anyway.
Yeah, you can,
so does
you
it
can
make
get
that
both
huge
at the
of a
same time.
difference?
I mean, it helps out a little bit. It's really a quality of life thing for the most part, I'd
Yeah,
say.
you don't have to just keep swapping
Yeah.
back and forth to keep the buffs up.
Get it a little bit more easily, but it is still a relatively weak laning phase. And when I compare ability-based hunters, the conversation used to be, how does he stack up against the other ability hunters? When Ullr was on the verge of the meta, that was back when AMC was really good and he was dominating with Bluestone too. Now, in a magical hunter meta, you compare Ullr to the magical hunters because they're the ones that box really well and also have mage abilities, so their poke's really good. And I'm just not so certain he stacks up entirely, but does give over a lot of aggression, makes it pretty easy to follow up on jungles. Hail of Arrows, Bladed Arrow, a really good ranged follow-up tool. So when you've got something like Serqet on your side who's going to lock down a target for a full like 2 seconds at least, well, you've at least got guaranteed follow-up coming from your Ullr.
Now the real question, I guess, lands. We've seen him, he's mana hungry, and we have seen Ullr threaten positions over towards the solo lane, but a lot of the time it feels like he finds his home always in mid. But you've got Sol, you've got Morgan Le Fay, you've got Ullr. Is there a preferred stack of those 3 gods that you'd rather have? He's putting on his thinking brain.
Oh man, Morgan Le Fay solo, Sol ADC Ullr mid. I think that is the only way it can be. In fact, I know it's the only way it can be. And we've heard your feedback, fans. This is not a guarantee from production. This is me staking my pride as an analyst. That is the only way it can go down.
Which, the good news is, like, there's now, like, 3 avenues for you, which is, that's exactly what they run, and then win or
Hope
lose,
it's that
you're
one.
absolutely right.
Hope it's that one.
They don't do it, and then if they lose, you're still in the right area. But if they don't do that and win, then things change up. We'll find out how that shakes out as we jump down to Game 2 with the casters.
That's right. Where all these picks go for the Eldritch Hounds as we go into game number 2 against the Highland Ravens. It's J-Mac, it's Charlie, it's Doug back. MF was right on his guess as to where everything lines up for the Eldritch Hounds. Will be Ducky once more on the Morgan Le Fay. BennyQ taking the Ullr mid for himself, and Stu on the Sol. But I think, more than anything else, because you and I talked a little bit about the Ullr, the changes that came his way, what maybe makes him feel a little bit more fluid now. I want to kind of push over towards Thoth, because Thoth got a little bit of changes a couple of patches back when all the spicy changes happened with gods. And we really didn't see a whole lot of Thoth. What is it about Thoth right now that kind of makes him maybe not necessarily feel like up there with some of the other meta gods?
Yeah, Thoth is very similar to Raijin in my mind, where if you let him free cast in the backline, it is just awful, right? He is going to absolutely destroy your team fight. It's not really what you want. As we see NeilMah going in for the end, I really want to see if he gets the steal. It's just an auto attack. All right, he's not going to get it. But if you let Thoth just free cast in the backline, it can be absolutely disastrous. But his self-peel is not there. He has almost nothing to keep you off of him. So that's sort of where Thoth is really in a rough spot. It really just depends on if you're ahead, he's disgusting and feels broken. If you're behind, it's a little bit rough. That's the same for Raijin. You can't let him free cast in the backline, but he has a lot more. He has CC immunity, he can dash in, he can build tanky. That's sort of the change-up, right? So I like the pick from Ven, assuming that the Highland Ravens keep an aggressive positioning and they're able to go forward and give Ven space. If not, he may be in some trouble. Oathhh and BennyQ can combo onto him very well, which is why you see Ven towards the back of the lane for a bit. But once he gets online, he just outranges just about everyone, has some great confirmation, one-shot potential, just about everything you would want from a mage.
We do see Hurry and Zap. Hurry getting aggressive on the Kuzenbo. Now the second time that we've seen him go towards that pick as NeilMah jumps in aggressively. Hurriwind taking a lot of damage from Stu. Gotta be wary of when those cooldowns come back up, but similar to NeilMah, starting to take a bit of damage from Zapman. Quick roll, gets away from the Stellar Burst from Stu. And Scream and Oathhh already rotating over to Duo. Maybe a turn and burn onto Oathhh. He gets the taunt, puts Scream away. Hurry goes for the blink push, but a little too slow on getting the actual push afterward. Now it could be a fight over here on the shield buff. Jump away by NeilMah. Hurriwind poked out. And a taunt onto Hurry. He's falling low. One more hit would do. He goes back to Zapman to try and bail him out, but now it's Scream who's diving onto NeilMah. Oathhh might just be getting first blood up against Hurriwind with the help of Stu. Stellar Burst is there. First blood. And NeilMah able to swing away. Scream can't confirm his own kill.
Yeah, just too much damage coming from Stuart here. This is the benefit of Soul. Those heat auto attacks, the good CC from Oathhh, the fact that Hurriwind thought he could be aggressive with just the sumo slam. Those are some long cooldowns when you don't have access to shell spikes. So rightfully punished, Zapman could not step forward. He wanted to just clear waves. He's like, guys, I can't even go for shield buff. And now Stu was level 4 before Zap even hit level 3. Looking good for the Eldritch Hounds. Hurriwind trying to push Neil under tower, won't be able to find it. This Kuzenbo getting first blood is going to be a big deal for the duo lane. Now Oathhh has a pretty good place to sit for the rest of the game. I mean, shield buff on respawn, duo ganks, pretty much the second the ult comes through. I'd be looking towards the left side of the map if I was Oathhh.
Well, it seems like, I believe it was Lasbra who had this influence, would go back, steal a speed buff. The Lasbra would usually try and get both of them if he had the opportunity to do so. But it seems that a lot of teams are starting to pick up this style of play.
Did
go
Benny
back
see
and
him?
see if he can get one. I think they just ring right around that one little rock. BennyQ does confirm the green buff. Axe toss onto Scream. BennyQ's going to fire a few in hands. As the gap closed out, he'll jump right in, waiting for that axe toss to come through. Blade arrow, the volley is there. BennyQ doesn't have the follow-up damage after this, so Scream will get out of this one. But Benny might try and steal this green buff away. Ultimate from Ven will guarantee that buff, but BennyQ is playing comfortable in the Ullr.
I love to see that. The axe comes through, not off the mark. But good damage onto Scream nonetheless. Also, definitely some pressure here. Haddix needs to juke the 3 after the fact, but it's actually the Dragonflight. Doesn't even matter. Ducky gets the solo kill, and Haddix falls down. Loses beads, loses ult, loses everything. Oh, he didn't even ult. Yeah, he just juked around. I thought he ulted beforehand. No, just lost his beads and ends up getting soloed there.
Not a great start for the Highland Ravens. 2 up now for the Eldritch Hounds. So I would say if the lead was anything resembling that for the Hounds, I mean, even with the shield buff invade earlier, a first blood bounty for the Eldritch Hounds, a second kill after, the Golden XP are technically still slightly favoring the Eldritch Hounds, but it's only by a couple hundred this early in. Sure, first blood gives you about a 450, 500 gold swing usually. They haven't really been able to build anything up.
Wait,
Highland Ravens
how is Haddix
had
up after
advantage
getting
earlier,
soloed?
but now it's Oathhh going in aggressive, goes for the ultimate, pulls beads away from Zapman, a supernova on top, the taunt back in, guarantees the kill onto the carry, and maybe one on the support. Dive in by Oathhh, landfall, pulls Hurry back, he clips the side of the tower, but it's just enough distance for NeilMah to drop him down. 4 kills for the Eldritch Hounds.
Yeah, clean from Oathhh there. Beautiful taunt back in. Needed to connect that supernova, and then Hurriwind just hit by the edge of the landfall, but NeilMah comes in clutch again. Duo lane getting pressured there. Scream, I think, is doing the correct call as well. Once your duo lane is this far behind, do you head over to the left lane? Do you try and bail them out? Or do you just ignore that side of the map and head over towards right? That seems to be the play, but look at this. The Hounds know blue buff spawning in. Instead of just leaving it for Scream, NeilMah actually makes the rotation over as well. There are 3 Hounds here just to guarantee that Ducky gets that extra farm. I like that play as well. The Hounds are trying to make sure they hold on to this lead. They play through pressure wherever necessary. It's looking pretty good throughout the map, especially towards the duo lane for now. Zapman is going to have a rough time trying to climb back in. But to your point, J-Mac, I mean, Haddix got soloed and is still ahead. That is some solid farming over there. Sure, the XP isn't looking too hot, but gold-wise is looking just fine. Maybe that's the reason. Overextended for some extra buffs and for some extra totems, something like that. Because the Highland Ravens have been in control of the totem so far this game. But gold-wise isn't looking too bad. That's what you were saying, and I tend to agree. Even though the Highland Ravens fallen down 0-4, they're still finding their farm, they're still finding their invades.
Starting to stack up items for both of the mid laners. Scream maintaining pace, maybe even slightly ahead of Oathhh on the 1-0-2 Serqet. It's a kill for everybody except for BennyQ so far, sitting at goose eggs for him. All the actions happen across the map away from him for the time being, so it's giving him plenty of chances to be able to sit up and farm inside of mid, get that Transcendence online. As Oathhh Let's go for a pick on Haddix. Not sure if Haddix recognizes he's there. Does turn around, spot Oathhh out. Thunder Crash. Not going to get much. A beads to try and use the ultimate out.
Smart.
But don't think that dot damage is quite enough for Haddix. One more tick may have done it, but not quite enough this time. Gets out of that fight, but costing him both beads and ultimate this time.
Yeah, smart by Haddix. Immediately goes into the ult and says, I'm going to fear you away if you try and go for me here. No ult from Oathhh, but Scream doesn't want to try and Grand Joust to look for the 1v1. Or does he? Hiding behind the wall. Ducky's nearby. I don't think it's the greatest idea, but it looks like he's going for it anyways.
Dragonflight there. The fear after has to use the ultimate, but this time it's defensively. Ducky,
didn't jump.
he's got the swipes. He's got the damage from range. 2 kills on the board for Ducky. The Morgan Le Fay solo coming in strong here in Game 2 for the Hounds.
I'm amazed. I think Scream wanted to hold on to the horse. The shield was gone, though. I felt like he could have jumped over that shot, definitely to survive. Didn't end up going for it. Got baited by the 1v1 from Oathhh that was never really a 1v1. And now that gold lead is starting to climb here for the Eldritch Hounds off of a fantastic performance from Ducky so far. This Morgan Le Fay solo is doing big damage numbers and creating a lot of space on the right side of the map. I mean, both Haddix and Scream are feeling the brunt of it now.
The Eldritch Hounds starting to get a little bit more wind under their sails, getting a bit more confident in their play, though. Do have to give credit to Hurriwind, going down 0-2 so far. Ahead of NeilMah in XP, level 8 versus the 7. And even Hurriwind staying ahead in stacks on the Gauntlet of Thebes, too. NeilMah has just not been able to get that same level of farm as Hurriwind has been able to, but has been able to keep himself impactful on the map with the Maui. Invade towards purple buff. Most likely Zapman going to have to give this one away. Even the chest camp not ready to spawn in just yet, but had it done so, NeilMah and Oathhh already ready to take those ones away. Stu doing a lot of damage to his tower. Use the supernova taunt after. Oathhh is going to try and dive onto Zapman. Will be successful. Last breath is just there to guarantee the kill at that point, but Oathhh is taking up the tower, and Zapman gets the trade-off kill after. And Hurriwind will just get a hold on to the lane here. Maybe a bit of miscommunication on the tower aggro juggling.
Yeah, the meditation came through from Neil, but it was not enough healing, not enough to keep Oathhh alive. And that doesn't end up being worth it, right? Sure, you lose the beads on Zap, but he gets the kill and the revenge. That's a big swing in favor of the Highland Ravens there. They're okay with losing Zapman, especially if Hurry keeps the waves alive, which seems like they're not going to be pushed under tower anytime soon. So that helps out Zapman try to get towards late game, but once again, going in for the early crit chance as Hurriwind attempts to steal away the shield buff, ends up taking a lot of damage. That's out of the map, though. That is where the Eldritch Hounds have been playing. Oathhh spends a lot of time over here. That purple buff doesn't belong to Zap anymore. He took away a speed from Screamers to try and stay ahead, but I don't think you're saving this tier 1 Zapman. Definitely going to have to run away from this one. The Hounds are pushing their lead, and I love to see that. They're not just sitting in lane. Remember, this is what we've been asking for from Stuart. Step forward, get aggressive, play your lead. Sure, you're not finding the solo kill. You have Oathhh come over, but at least you're stepping forward and grabbing that extra tower. Now what I want to see from the Hounds, a Gold Fury pull before Beacon, sometime soon. Haddix is 2 levels behind. Stu has got to level up. There's no tower. You've got good burst. I want to see this Gold Fury pulled very soon.
Neil and Hurry are already kind of posturing that direction. Trying to maybe see if they can get some wards out there. Spot out the enemy. Venenu now finishing up his Book of Thoth and has the Divine Rune online, so some good range damage available to the mid laner of the Ravens. Similar to how BennyQ, the Finish Transcendence, and the Hydra's Lament. Strong follow-up and poke damage from both of these mid laners now. But not really grouping around the Gold Fury. It's Oathhh trying to wrap around to the bottom side of this team fight. Meanwhile, Scream wrapping around from the top end of the mid lane. The beacon's not even up, yet teams already starting to group up and start up some scrapping for it. Oathhh will keep his eyes over towards purple buff, and that gives Scream the option to now rotate in through mid.
And Zap forced into the ultimate, knows this purple buff's under fire. Here comes the rest of the Ravens. I don't think they're going to get here in time for the buff, but can they get here in time for the fight? It's actually the Hounds that are running away.
Zapman used the snipes onto Oathhh and put a lot of damage to him. NeilMah will swing away, lands down. Has that landfall accessible to him, will block off one path. Hurriwind can't get out, and Scream is caught, just barely able to wrap around the island. And even Hurriwind gets the push of his own, but it's only into his own doom. BennyQ finally puts himself on the board for the Eldritch Hounds, who can now continue this fight into the jungle. Venenu end up having to dash away from the Eldritch Hounds. I thought maybe a group up around the Gold Fury, but with this many Ravens still alive, the Hounds will pull back.
Yeah, it didn't seem like anyone was going to be able to dive Venenu there. He had so much range for a steal attempt. I don't hate the call to run away. So you see Haddix not taking good trades versus Ducky. Kind of have a solo kill opportunity, especially if someone walks over. The beach is still available, though. Haddix really just wants to sustain up with Pythags and stay alive here. All the while, the Eldritch Hounds are grabbing the beacon, or at least attempting to. Ven actually able to grab some farm in his favor. As long as it's a 2v1, yeah, the Highland Ravens will be able to grab this. BennyQ has to get in very soon if he wants an attempt at even grabbing this beacon. Won't happen. Ven picks it up. That's essentially uncontested. NeilMah did his best, but numbers don't lie, and you need at least 2 to try and contest that beacon.
This is where the difficulty of fighting into a Thoth comes in, where Neil thinks he's safe around the wall, just like most characters probably would think so. Venenu's range just allows him to keep this consistent poke up, the lower cooldowns on that first ability. Just keep letting Venenu go for these constant poke battles. Not doing a whole lot of damage just yet. NeilMah has opted for magic defense in second slot. It's a heart ward for him. Meanwhile, for Hurriwind, goes into Breastplate of Valor to deal with some of these more physical heavy damage dealers, the ones that he's mostly around, BennyQ and Oathhh primarily. Wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing some magic defense online for Hurry soon. As the Gold Fury gets started up by the Eldritch Hounds. Half health on it already, but with Hurriwind walking up, Eldritch Hounds once more will pull away from objective.
They don't want to go in for the 50-50. They like their burst attempts, but they don't love it, especially when you don't have eyes on the Thoth. Hieroglyphic Assault can really poke you down, and of course, Final Judgment could steal away that Fury in an instant. It's really Oath's job. He's the only one I can see diving Venenu consistently, and with his build, he would get pretty poked out. Everyone actually pushes Oathh back, forced into the watery grave. Defensively, Scream, look how far up he is. Your support just got poked out. Why are you so close?
Scream's just taking laps here in the jungle, spinning in circles, while the Highland Ravens try to regroup around. Eldritch Hounds were closing in the gap, but not able to get the follow-up that they were hoping for on Scream. 7-1 for the Eldritch Hounds in the kill department. Nearly 2,000 gold, 3,500 XP up for the Hounds at this point. You'd think with this lead and with how well these fights have been going for the Hounds, they'd be maybe a bit more willing to try and go for these aggressive plays in enemy territory, but you really haven't seen this team pass up, pretty much past where that ward is on the top end side of your screen.
No, not yet. Attempted pulls. I saw Ducky head over towards left lane, but ended up just positioning back towards solo. Surely this is the Gold Fury pull, though. The Eldritch Hounds group up, ward coverage in their favor. Unfortunately, the Oracle coverage in the Highland Ravens' favor. It's just going to be a snipe from Zapman. That's the only thing that could steal this away.
Push on to Ducky. Ducky's got decent damage, but now Haddix is here. Collapse onto the solo laner would be ideal for the Highland Ravens. Scream is there. The root damage after, and Haddix gets the second kill for the Ravens. They had to give up the Pyromancer, which opted up for the Fury for the Eldritch Hounds, and now because of how much time it took to kill Ducky, the Ravens can't even go for Pyromancer.
Nope, they got to back up. Zap went for the snipes, was not able to steal it away. The Eldritch Hounds confirm the Fury, but still, losing Ducky could be a big deal. Haddix gets some free farm over and right, unless Hurriwind gets picked. If anything, he's stepping forward. He doesn't care about this damage. Remember, he ended up going for the breastplate, which means he's extremely tanky to these physical damage dealers of the Eldritch Hounds. So definitely a good look for the Hounds. I did want them to pull that Fury. I'm glad they committed to it. Ducky did not need to die for the Pyromancer, but at least keeps the Highland Ravens from getting a Runic Bomb in their pocket. Who knows what they'd be able to accomplish. Could grab a tier 1 tower, could save it for an early fire burn. So I understand the play call there, but giving Haddix some free farm is exactly what the Highland Ravens were looking for.
And Haddix really needed it. He was starting to fall behind pretty quickly to Ducky. The now 2-1 Morgan Le Fay finally being shut down. Haddix able to close up that lead just a bit. Pyromancer from the Ravens. Hurriwind low. Hurriwind might just be out of this one. One more shot from Ducky would have done it, but can't land all 3 shots this time. Pyromancer reset by the Ravens. Hurriwind back to base. But Venenu with this constant poke on the Thoth. That ever-looming threat of a final judgment is keeping the Hounds further back.
They're sticking up here, though. All 5 Hounds are nearby. Stuart made the rotation out. Pyromancer has been pulled. Ven wants to go for the steal, fires it too early, and the Eldritch Hounds get to pick that one up for free.
BennyQ in danger. I think he's already used his jump. Landfall doesn't hit anybody this time, but now the jump is back up for Benny. He's able to leap out while Oathhh is trying to get into this fight. Scream gets one. Oathhh takes out Haddix. Hurriwind finds another push. Pushes Oathhh against the wall while Scream cuts off a path to the back line. Oathhh can't jump away because of the cripple field. Scream sets one up for Venenu to knock them down. BennyQ's off this map for a while. Ducky quarter HP with the rest of his squad. The Eldritch Hounds had a great start to the fight, but the Ravens had a better end.
Tier 1 tower not enough to try and dissuade Venenu, but didn't have any sort of damage to try and dive there. Just going to split up and find farm. Still in the Eldritch Hounds' favor, J-Mac, but you're right. The Highland Ravens can fight back when necessary. I can't believe that Haddix even fell down there. It seemed like he was in such a good spot, right? BennyQ overcommits, has a great Aegis, but ends up getting chased down by Scream. It was the constant knocking up of Stuart. That supernova comes in real clutch to confirm that kill onto Haddix. Even with the snipes from Zapman, though, that tier 1 tower was not going to dissuade the Highland Ravens from trying to dive. Just could not confirm any more of those kills. So a decent trade. You give NeilMah the runic bomb. The Eldritch Hounds, remember, they were aggressive towards that Fury. Primal Fury spawning in again pretty shortly. That left side of the map is still going to need some vision. These ADCs, they do fire pretty slow at this point in the game. Even if you get a solid 8 seconds of no vision towards the right side of the map, it's not like that fire's going down.
Haddix in danger, full CC combo onto him. He's just trying to buy a way out of this fight. Ultimate from Ducky, second and third swipe. Connected jump in by Oathhh, and an in-hand closes that one out. Scream trying to make his presence known on the left side. Stu in danger, uses the ultimate, and in return from Scream, a crash down off the horse. Nets him a kill, but he's taking so much damage from the tower. BennyQ gonna try and chase, but with Axe Toss off the mark, Scream is out of that fight. 1-for-1 trade across the map. A couple of low health bars on the side of the Ravens.
Lose Aegis on Stuart. There was no relics over on left. Oathhh gets pushed under tower, but Ven does not want to provide any sort of damage. He just backed underneath the tower anyways. There was aggression on the left side of the map, and Scream's still sticking around. Doesn't have too much health to try and defend if a Primal Fury was pulled, but because Stuart's not here, no fear of that one anyways. Trying to get Haddix back in the fight. Remember, he lost both his relics and still doesn't have them for about 20 seconds, so hasn't been able to be too aggressive so far in this game. A big difference maker between the relics, though. Ducky, he picks up the Blink. That Blink Dragonflight can be the start to a team fight. You have so much lockdown with the Dragonflight interfere, just like this. Haddix forced to run away, but Oathhh wants to dive him again.
Goes in, but with Zapman nearby, thinks twice about sticking around. Primal Fury still up. If one of these teams wants to try and go for a pull that way. The Hounds got the first Fury and the first Pyro of the game. Hasn't been much answer back from the Ravens. Scream is in no man's land, but he's got backup from Haddix. Ducky here, the double knock-up, double push is good. Scream can't even ult away in time. The Aegis from Haddix keeps alive from the ultimate out of Ducky. NeilMah pulls him back and gets the beads from the Raijin, and now it's Zapman potentially by himself. Now no beads for him. Landfall misses from NeilMah, but still the threat on relics is strong from the Hounds and go right to Primal.
Yeah, Primal Fury up. Hurriwind's nearby, and Ven is close as well. But with Ducky zoning and the Primal already this low, it's gonna be hard to go in for the steal.
Hurriwind's got to use ultimate if he wants to try and get out of this one. Watery Grave keeps the fight interesting at the least, and Venenu's still standing by with some extra damage of himself. Final Judgment, hold on to, rips through right on Oathh's health bar, but he has sub 20 health after the shot, and it's just not quite enough. Zapman doesn't get the damage out there with his snipes. The Eldritch Hounds get the Fury. They're able to bail out of the team fight, and now it's Ducky once more stepping up to Pyromancer. You see Hurriwind's low, and with a low HP tank and how strong and oppressive Ducky has been on this god, yeah, I'm not surprised the Ravens are backing away.
Yeah, now the Eldritch Hound's heading over towards that Pyromancer. Zapman reveals himself on the left side of the map. This could be a Pyro, this could be a Fire Giant call. And I think that's the reason Zapman immediately channels that back. Does not want to try and 50-50 the FG at this point in the game. Sure, you're behind a little bit, but this is not give up Fire Giant gold territory. And the Eldritch Hounds, are they going for the ward code or are they going for the pull? So far, yeah, they're going to go in for the Fire Giant here.
Venenu's got ultimate. 2 runic charges here for the Eldritch Hounds. Hurriwind gets pushed back by Ducky, but the Watery Grave is causing so much chaos inside the pit. The Fire Giant goes to the Eldritch Hounds. Oathhh is able to jump away for now, but Venenu's closing the gap, and he takes him down. Oathhh gets dropped off of the map, and NeilMah, the next one down. Final judgment, not the killing blow, but the damage that's needed for Haddix to secure the kill.
You have 2 down now. Fire Giant only left on 3, but the Highland Ravens are hungry for more. They're going into the tier 2 tower. They've got minions. No way you go in for the Phoenix here. I think too much damage on the side of the Hounds, but a free tier 2 tower, they'll definitely take that one. It looks like they might go in for one more. Hounds have to try and step up here. There's no way you give this up for free, right?
Hurriwind stands in. The glyph down from Venenu. The ranged auto attacker is getting an extra little bit of damage from all 3 of them. And that tier 2 tower goes down for free. The Eldritch Hounds are too slow to get there, but now Ducky trying to close up because BennyQ is wrapping around. Zapman is low, uses the Aegis against the damage, jukes out a bit, but just has to stand his ground and fight, and Stu is the one to knock him down. The Highland Ravens, they get a couple of towers, but they end up losing Zapman at the end.
Yeah, I think trading Zap for 2 tier 2s is fine in that spot. You have 3 Fire Giants to worry about. The Eldritch Hounds haven't even mounted their push yet. And at the very least, you're stalling out this Fire Giant. Didn't hate the play call for the Hounds to go in for the FG. But the fact that they stood on it, I'm guessing it was just confidence in, hey, we've got 2 runic bombs. And the burst is going to be absurd. We're going to get the Fire Giant guaranteed, which they did. It was just the chase down after the fact that, I mean, Oathhh going down first was a big deal. He's one of the more slippery characters in the game. And since he fell, chase down onto NeilMah was relatively easy. But now the Eldritch Hounds have their chance to push forward. This tier 2 tower they step up towards. And Zapman just now spawned in.
Still have fire on Stuart. He's going to be the one leading the charge on the structure damage. BennyQ as well. Having that fire means you got both of your ranged in-hand damage dealers to deal with these structures. NeilMah going to take up the tower, which doesn't have much health already. Half HP just from a few shots from the double hunter comp of the Eldritch Hounds. There's that threat again with Venenu. Charges up the ultimate. Every one of the Eldritch Hounds players takes a step back just because they don't want to get hit by 800-900 damage from Ven. Haddix gets taunts onto Ducky, but he got clipped on the side of the wall. Landfall just off the mark from NeilMah, but it does get the beads from Haddix. And Venenu charging up that ultimate. It does hit NeilMah, but NeilMah only. Stu pushed back, but into the Zap Ray gets him out for the time being. Zapman steps forward, but has to roll back at the fight.
Oathhh is the one who needs to get to the backline. He has the easiest engage here, and the Highland Ravens are looking low. You gotta just give up this tier 2 tower. I mean, Ven's doing plenty of damage, but you don't want to lose your life for it, and that is going to be the call. All the while, Scream heads towards the left side of the map. He's right next to Primal Fury, which is where the Eldritch Hounds are heading. Will they figure him out, though? Doesn't seem like it. Scream's nearby. I think the Highland Ravens might go in for a fight here if they can get a good engage.
Scream's got ult. Zapman's got snipes. Doesn't get it for the kill on the objective. NeilMah able to swing away, but Scream is right hot on his tails. The damage is there, and Scream's got the kill. Oathhh goes on top of Scream, but now Haddix with the ultimate will try and keep Oathhh CC'd as long as he can. Taunts him back into Venenu, and Haddix Thunder crashes in. Damage is good. One more shot would do it, and it's Zapman with the basic to take him down. Now Venenu still charging forward. Use the beads, lights the root onto BennyQ. 3 shots is not enough to take him out. Final judgment only hits Stuart this time, but Hurriwind and Haddix haven't given up their chase entirely. It's Ducky inside of the Phoenix against 5. Needs the backup from the rest of his team. Hurry can't tank this Phoenix much longer. They're Highland Ravens. They got 2 kills. They've got to get out of the fight.
Yeah, Titans were pushing up right lane. If it was over and left, maybe the Highland Ravens have a chance to push forward, but they did not have the Titans in their favor. And the Eldritch Hounds are able to grab even more gold at the end of the day. It's not like the Highland Ravens have shown they can't fight. They certainly can. They just need to protect Venenu. They need him to land a crucial ultimate, and someone has to deal with Ducky. That's the big change up, right? This Morgan Le Fay is getting way too much value out of the poke, out of the CC, out of the survivability. Ducky has been putting on a show on the side of the Eldritch Hounds. Only dying once, a part of a majority of the kills. I'm not sure who's going to be able to make that change, because if Oathhh gets to the backline in that tier 2 siege, that could have been a Phoenix. It was just the fact that Oathhh was getting zoned out by Scream the whole time. All it would have taken was one good dive to the backline, And that could have been a gone Phoenix for the first Fire Giant of the game, but the Highland Ravens hold out, and now Fire Giant spawns back in.
Eldritch Hounds, not even the first ones on the scene this time for the Fire Giant. Hurriwind able to get some vision inside the pit, right at the very top edge of the ring, just to make sure he can keep vision on which hounds are standing around the opposite sides of the wall. Scream, gonna go for maybe another wraparound play, waits for the minions to walk by. He's gonna use the wall just to keep his momentum up. Zapman has already rolled in, knockback onto BennyQ, who's already jumped, and Hurriwind with the ult disrupts it all. Zapman takes down BennyQ. NeilMah pushed back in danger, used the landfall, but it hits nothing. It's a double for Zapman, and it's now the Ravens who can go to fire.
That was a sick play by Scream, just right into the wall and wait for someone to show up. I think he was waiting for a Fire Giant pull, but BennyQ has no survivability relics and just goes in towards the wave. Now there's no one on the side of the Hounds that's even close for a steal attempt. Fire Giant goes down to 5 on the Ravens off of a great dive attempt, and that's the thing. Wasn't just Scream. Of course, Hurriwind's there to blink immediately for the disruption. That watery grave just makes sure no one is able to get out. You lose BennyQ and Neil for 15 seconds. You might be losing more than just the tier 2 tower because they're not done.
We'll be pushing forward. 8 seconds on Neil, 10 on BennyQ. The Hounds have to make a 3v5 defense, but that's getting tough for them to do so. Stu already poked out in the back line. They can't even step up to defend their own Phoenix. The Highland Ravens, just with the sheer numbers advantage, have manhandled their way through a Phoenix and have now closed up this gold lead. The Eldritch Hounds were sitting in a 4 and nearly 5,000 gold lead earlier on, now down to just 500. Separating these two teams, level 20 is already up, so XP really does not matter at this point. The Highland Ravens, they have found their way back in this fight, and it's off one small little play by Scream in mid. Picks off BennyQ to set up for fire.
And that's the thing. It's not like the Fire Giant from before was that beneficial for the Hounds either. Sure, they make out a little bit ahead, but remember, they immediately lose 2 and 2 tier 2 towers to start their Fire Giant push. That was, I think, the big issue. And BennyQ stepping forward without having any relics up, and Scream was able to take full advantage of that one. Now, relics are available for everyone but Hurriwind. And all the tier 2s are gone off the map for the Highland Ravens, that is. They've got fire on 5. They have Oni Fury in hand and fire minions pushing up right. A fantastic position to be in. You're the Highland Ravens. Oni minions are going to be a big deal, and they're able to play this one slow. And remember, it's so difficult to sit forward underneath a Phoenix when a Thoth is in play, when Zapman is critting as hard as he has. Especially if Scream is able to go for a wraparound like he did previously. It's not easy to be even close to this bird, and that's what the Eldritch Hounds have to do. I mean, Ducky is the only one who's been able to step forward like that. Stuart, BennyQ have to stay in the back. NeilMah needs to go for a miracle ultimate, but not going to be easy. They can stall this one out. Time is in the Highland Ravens' favor. As long as those Oni fire minions push up right, someone's going to have to back and deal with them, but they're just pushing forward anyways.
Hounds trying to defend their Phoenix. Double taunt by Oathhh. Landfall back. Only grabs Hurry. Haddix keeps going in with the damage of the Tycho drones, but it's not quite enough just yet. Stuart poked out in the back line. Will have to retreat back to the fountain. The Highland Ravens can grab a Phoenix and once again bounce themselves out of the fight and head over towards mid. They got an Oni minion wave pushing in. Maybe with some of these lower health bars on their frontliners, might not go for the push just yet.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they were going to stall that push, but now they're going to stall out the mid lane push. Because again, fire minions over on right, fire minions soon to be over on left. Why not just send Scream to solo out the Pyromancer, get a runic bomb in pocket before you step forward, and get some more of those ultimates off cooldown. If Ven has a bit more damage, like a power pod, a 3k pod for sure, Stuart's just evaporated off the map, but doesn't quite have the DPS to 100 to 0 yet. I'm keeping my eye on Final Judgment though. If it's going to start out the fight and just remove someone from playfield, that's going to be the Highland Ravens' first play.
Then you're going to try and poke around the wall. Scream using the wall to keep himself from going too far forward. Well, Venenu keeps this chip damage up. One tap hits BennyQ. That's 10% of his HP. Couple taps on the NeilMah and a Benny again. Puts him down 30%. Venenu charged up ultimate, but Oathhh is able to get away from it in time. Scream instead is the one in danger. Fast blink by the Jungler of the Hounds keeps him out of danger. Supernova from Stu keeps himself alive, but the Phoenix is already gone once more, and Scream is still pushing forward. Hurriwind, though, he's too far forward. The Eldritch Hounds knock down the support, but they've lost all 3 Phoenixes.
Man, Zapman might get hung out to dry here. He's definitely the slowest of the 3. Haddix, very low cooldowns, Ven, low cooldown Zap. Has to work for it. Maybe Ven needs some damages to make sure his ADC gets out, but 1 axe from BennyQ might be all it takes. Look at the relics, has them up. Needs 1 good Aegis, 1 good Beats Orb to go up into the sky, but his dash comes through, barely making it out. Very thin margins there. Take a look at the base, though. Right side bird's going to spawn in. There's already a fire wave there. NeilMah looks like he might get there in time. No, he's just going to hold the minions back. Smart call. Next wave would be the one that actually takes the bird. Either way, you got to retreat as quickly as possible, right? The Eldritch Hounds know Neil can't even clear fire waves. They have to retreat. And that means the Highland Ravens have bought some time to go in for an enhanced Fire Giant once Hurriwind spawns back in. The game certainly in their favor, but it's not as if the Eldritch Hounds can't fight back. It seems like if Ven doesn't connect with a big ultimate, it's not the easiest time to confirm these kills. It's not easy. You have snipes from Zapman, sure, but Oathhh has so much more movement. He's able to blink to the backline. He's able to get in, get out, whereas Screammmmm, he sort of has to hard commit with the Grand Joust every time he goes forward. So keep your eyes on Venenu, and more specifically, keep your eye on Oathhh to see if he's even able to get to this Thoth. Someone has to stop Ven from free casting. He's 2-0-6, the only one on the map who hasn't died yet.
Hands Fire Giants in, Haddix to the back line. The frenzy's been popped. Let's listen with the Hounds as they jump into the team fight.
On your back. Heal back if we can. Oh. Don't hold. Ulting them out if I can. I have Thoth walled out.
I don't have anything else.
I've jump stun in 3.
I could help you. Benny, Thoth dash.
I give you 2, Benny. That's just 1.
Once
Not
is
sure if you
one,
can ever. Nice. Raijin's gonna have dash. Okay. Right Phoenix soon. You win that trade. I'm away to you.
That Rama beads. Their backline's super low.
Right Phoenix soon, okay? I should be okay. We can get Phoenix.
Back and forth team fight from the Eldritch Hounds and the Ravens here. It ends up going a 3-for-3 at the end of that all. But listening to just the calls there from Oathhh saying, you're going to win this trade, don't worry about it. BennyQ stands his ground against Haddix. And the burst damage he had against Screammmmm, he nearly 2-tapped him.
Yeah, he almost 100-0 Screammmmm. If he had any bit of crusher damage on the end of that one, would have been able to find the kill, but just didn't get one more tick. Oathhh has to confirm that kill. Gotta be big, though. I mean, that wasn't Haddix diving the backline. That was Oathhh catching Raijin out, right? Haddix had to use both relics. Tried to survive here. BennyQ's near, though. His 3 doesn't have one-shot potential, but his second ability might do it. Let's see if he has the chase-down potential. Does he even go over the wall? No. He's going to respect Ven's damage for now. But still, you got time to get your Phoenixes back up. That was the call from the Hounds. They have their mid-Phoenix spawning in here shortly. Right and left are already back at this point. You're in enhanced Fire Giant territory. You can't be stepping too far up without the team. Haddix is tanky, but not tanky enough to be near 5 members of the Hounds and CC'd by Oathhh and still make it out scot-free. Now the Highland Ravens get to step forward. Not going to deal with the minions pushing up mid, so eventually those fire waves will build up, but for now, it seems like the Eldritch Hounds have taken care of them. Just to stall out and try and go in for a defense here. The Highland Ravens still in the driver's seat for now.
Starting up near the Fire Giant. Pyromancer going to be started up, and well, the crit's online for Zapman. He'll take those down quickly. Does pop a potion now for Venenu as he steps forward. NeilMah going to be hit by some good poke damage from Venenu once more. This Thoth just getting so much free damage to the backline. Even coming out of that last fight, Venenu was still getting so much free damage up against the Hounds. They can't even really step up for this Fire Giant. Haddix crashes back with the team. The Fire Giant down to a quarter. Haddix used the ultimate to keep alive as Screammmmm dives into BennyQ. He said, you took the 1v1 last time, I'll win it this time. Big one for Screammmmm, and now Ducky in the middle of everybody. Scorching blink used, but he's already down. Haddix gets one while Stu gets another, but Stu's got a lot of damage. But the disruption from Hurriwind is keeping this one interesting. Zapman takes one down, picks up the double, deicide for the Highland Ravens in game number 2.
You cannot take that trade. BennyQ's got a lot of damage, but Screammmmm, make sure to take the 1v1. Start this one out. Still gets the Scorching Blink off to make sure the Ducky falls down, and the Highland Ravens make out on top. 4 still alive. This Titan will be dropping down. Then goes undying this game. There was pressure put onto the Thoth. I saw him pop a 3K. Both relics go down. He was essentially 1 HP, but they just couldn't finish that kill. And when you can't finish the Thoth, he's going to be just trickling through damage for the rest of the team fight, and that was a wand fight. You got to be able to finish that kill. Unfortunate, and Ven's positioning, top tier.
And that's what you need on your Thoth. Stay as far back as you can, but just close enough you can keep getting that damage out there. Try and lure one of those backliners in as far as they can. Try and drag Oathhh out of position and bait anything forward. Screammmmm, I think, starting off that fight, probably the big highlight for that match.
Oh, yeah.
Getting the 1v1 kill up against BennyQ and giving his team that advantage.
Yeah, forcing him to jump into lane as opposed to back towards his team is also a big deal. If he has help near Neil, if he has help near Ducky, maybe Screammmmm gets killed first, right? He dives into the enemy team, but because he goes towards lane, Screammm's uncontested. He can win that 1v1, then join his team out of combat and still get a Scorching Blink off. And true damage onto Ducky's a big deal because he was extremely tanky that game.
One thing I was going to point before the fight was win or lose, this is one of the best Hounds games that we've seen from them so far
Love
this phase. Love
yep.
what we're seeing from this team. Love the aggression that we're getting out of this duo lane now.
Yep.
BennyQ on this Ullr. This is a great look for the Eldritch Hounds even in a loss here. Just want to see a little bit more from them. I think we could be seeing a nice little turnaround from them. Not going to happen, though, in this game. It's 2-0 up for the Highland Ravens. We'll see, though, if the Hounds can bounce back in game number 3.
Trying to get you off my mind. I can see the signs, gone and got it on the side. Thought you were being sly, thought I'd never catch your line. Trying to keep it in, I can see it in your eyes. Go with doing to you, still pretending that we're cool. Something on your cheek, then that's strange, it's true. Trying to be a man tonight. I'm afraid I can't, tonight. I can't let you go. I'm scared of none above that you feel right. I'll give you on 'cause you make me feel alive. Holding on to nothing while my karma hits the ground. You're not around, no longer around. It's a little bit too much for me. Can't shake the thought you touch and feel. Know what I wish that I would see when I close my eyes. I close my eyes, thinking like I was naive, thinking that we could be for real, and know that I would ever see when I close my eyes. I close my eyes. I'm scared of none above
sleeping. Bet you didn't know I wanna feel you closer to my skin. I think about you when my heart is beating. Bet you didn't know I wanna feel you, wanna let you in. This is what you do to me. Let's explore this fantasy. I could take you higher than I know you want it.
Well, it's a 2-0 lead here for the Ravens. And Myth, for anybody who tuned out, I mean, even 10, 15 minutes ago, they're maybe confused because it feels like, at least very early on, kill lead, even the gold lead, although never too massive, was in favor of the Hounds. It's just sticking together and eventually the team fight phase for the Ravens that overwhelms and overcomes the Hounds there.
Yeah, I think the issue for the Hounds is when they decide to all in on the team fight. Because even in the early game, what was it, a 6-0 start, 0 deaths, 6 kills, 5 minutes in, you look up and you're thinking, that's GG, right? Like, that's just got to be it. Ducky's getting solo kills, duo lanes getting first blooded on first wave, everybody's getting involved, Benny's got a lead on the Ullr. It's just going to line up. But the issue is, and it's just got to be, the decision-making on when those kills are happening. So often we see teams decide to take the fight on buff spawn so that when they find those kills, they can strip away some farm or control some neutral or look towards literally anything to extend that lead. But what I saw from the Hounds was, yeah, we got those kills right after all the buffs were cleared out. Like both teams, handshake agreement, neutral just cleared their own camps. Then we started to take some of these engagements. And it really is difficult to make something happen on map when there's nothing on map to make happen, right? And I think that's the issue the Eldritch Hounds run into. The Highland Ravens were never quite beyond 2,000, maybe 3,000 gold down at their worst. And by the time the team fight phase started to roll around, that's right when the KDs started to equalize, except the Highland Ravens had done so much on map themselves, just in neutral farm, mid-camp, shield buffs, this, that, or the other. They had a pretty significant gold lead. And SMITE kills mean very little. It's an accolade to make your KD look awesome. What wins games is golden experience. And the Highland Ravens, they had that.
When you even look at it, and damage-wise, first off, Vin through the roof. But even, you know, Zapman almost double over, double under what Stuart was able to put up, things like that. A lot of good damage from the Hounds, a lot of good presence. But like you said, even when you get the kills, if you get them, you got to do something with them. There were several times early, I remember looking at you and thinking, why are they not even, like, they're not even fainting towards a Gold Fury to try and start a fight, or to keep the fight going, or anything. And they were in the lead, or they just got a pick. It just felt like there were a lot of times for the Hounds, like you said. Or maybe they got the kill, but they weren't active enough on the map to push that lead as far as they could. And unfortunately for them, that means the Ravens get to kind of stand stalwart, and eventually get there and get the job done. So they find themselves a 2-0 win. Takes them a little longer than in Game 1. The question is what kind of things they need to change up to make sure that the early game doesn't happen, or for the Hounds, where they need to change it up. Sounds like for the Hounds, it's mostly in-game, on-map play. For the Ravens, how do you stop that kind of oppressive early game, at least kill-wise, from the Hounds?
I mean, you could just draft some more early game, right? It's
Good
not
point.
as if the Ravens had, let's run it down at level 1. That wasn't exactly what their composition was built for. So maybe if you want to lean a little bit more into that play style, sure. I think that's something that could work out well for the Ravens. But with that said, being up 2-0, it's not really on them. The onus isn't really on the Ravens to make changes. It's do or die time for the Eldritch Hounds. They need to figure out what needs to change. Maybe if you want to go for an early game composition, you can at least draft like double hunter, something like that, so you can at least roll through those objectives a little bit more easily. There are options and opportunities. It's timing of aggression. For me, I mean, it would feel a little strange to say, yeah, Ravens need to switch this up, because they're kind of owning.
Yeah, and winning, right? Like, when you're up 2-0, you don't have to change too much. We'll see if they keep that true as we get into Game 3. Hounds are going to be first pick, and their backs are against the wall. They need to win not just this one, but the next one and the one after that, assuming that they're able to make it and try to win this set. So all starts with this game. All the pressure lies here. Unsurprising. First ban for him, Hounds. Get rid of the Baba Yaga, but they also are the team that bans the Chernobog, as opposed to letting the Ravens deal with it, which is what we have seen more often as the second pick, having to get rid of that one. So Baba Yaga and Chernobog into what has been Athena for the Ravens so far, and then the Ratatoskr. Do you like, the Hounds? I guess in this kind of position, it feels weird a little bit that Chernobog is where they're banning it, but it maybe is revealing a little that they aren't confident in first picking it.
Maybe that they don't want it, or perhaps that they're fishing for a Raijin selection. In this position, Ravens need to make a decision. Do we give up Raijin or Yamoja? Decision made quickly. Wasn't exactly a vote over there. They knew exactly what they wanted. Yamoja banned out, and that does leave the Eldritch Hounds in a position now to just go ahead and take the Raijin for themselves. You can see Ducky pantomiming it. Hits the drums on the air, says, oh, well, guess this one's going for me. Unfortunately for him, or at least for the Hounds. Don't necessarily know exactly which one of the two between Benny and Ducky will be piloting the god. Just know that someone's going to be slamming on some bongos, and we'll probably see some bananas splatting against totems. That's in the Soul Lane. I'm guessing it's Soul Lane.
It's guessing Soul Lane. And you know what? I'd be willing to believe you. We've seen him more over in solo than we have in any other role so far. Ducky, even for a long time on the Morgan Le Fay, had a pretty wide advantage. Like, he was like 2 levels up, had a lot of gold. Yeah, he was running the lane. So I'm excited to see, probably, but potentially still, what he's going to do on the Raijin. While we're still so far up, I do want to ask just about like some of the gods that got buffs this most recent update. The one that stands out to me, and maybe this is like personal bias coming through of a god that we haven't seen in a while, and I typically can enjoy. Hachi was not the one I was going to. I was going to ask you about the Cupid. His healing, now healing him a little bit, and his attack speed, or that passive attack speed going up. I was going to ask if there's a world where we get to see him, but Hachi locked in instead, alongside of Fafnir. How are you feeling about this?
I mean, it's a lot of attack speed sharing between Heavenly Banner and Coerce, right? That's going to be pretty dope for the Highland Ravens. Even if they decide to draft like another Magical Hunter, it doesn't really need to. You can get like an auto attack jungler. You don't even need that. I mean, there's so much on the board here. You can play non-auto attackers, and all of a sudden they're just auto attackers. So it is a strong 2-man combo. You've got good chain CC potential, decent poke in lane. I don't hate this for the Highland Ravens, but I am surprised to see it prioritized where it is. Fafnir seems to be resurgent. This is not the first time we've seen him this week. We saw him in the previous set as well. So has great ability to threaten objectives, decent single target CC, high survivability, and high mobility, kind of making up the core of what is Fafnir. Hachiman, though, I mean, you probably could have got him like 10th pick, legitimately.
Yeah, not a lot of people are trying to lock him in as of right now. In fact, most people just straight up ignoring him half the time. Feels like something that Zapman is and was playing. And other than that, Barra was really the other guy that kept going to him. Maybe it's a Ravens thing. But like you said, they've got it, and they're going to be going up against a Rom, presumably, with a Terra alongside it. So, duo lane laid out in front of us. Presumably the duo lane laid out in front of us. Which maybe changes everything. Okay, so with this hover myth, I'm actually going to present, because right now, Raijin, Rom, Terra for the Hounds, that's pretty straightforward, right? Raijin is the only one, it's ambiguous. We've been seeing him go to solo lane. Even if he goes mid, his playstyle lands mostly similar. Rom, Terra, we know what to expect of him. They go for the Ama, but there was a hover for a soul. And so I want to ask, do you see Hachi being a Zap has to play this, or is it something they could throw into mid for Vin and pick something up for Zap? Or is there any kind of, I guess, leeway just for shuffling on the Ravens?
You could shuffle those 2 picks if it were a soul lock-in, and there still is potential that the Ravens... There's no longer potential that the Ravens go towards that soul, but had it been locked in, I think likely we would have seen Soul ADC Hachiman mid. Now pretty unlikely, barring a catastrophic game failure, that we see that for the Highland Ravens here in game number 3, as the Eldritch Hounds have dedicated a ban towards it. Yeah, I think there's a good deal of flexibility there. As far as I'm concerned, though, if you've got Soul, you just want her in duo.
That's just, yeah, where she belongs.
Yep.
Like you said earlier, pressure. Plus, when you're starting to talk attack speed, between her, Fafnir, Hachi, oh my god. Add the Ama. No, that's a good ban from the Hounds. They're going to take out Lancelot alongside it. Thor and Serqet banned by the Ravens, trying to stifle Oathhh as much as possible. Remember, in Game 1, he had played the Batz, which is still available. Ratatosker banned out a little earlier. So thin jungle pool, thin jungle margins.
A lot of assassins out there.
A lot of and most of them, Oathhh, turns out, does really enjoy playing as well.
And decent warriors available too. I mean, looking at Oath's most recent games, could go towards something like the Susano. Could go towards the Alquang. Sure hope it isn't the Alquang. Could go towards the Susano. We'll lean in on that one a little bit. Has okay ability at chasing down some of these safer picks on the Highland Ravens. Pulling Amaterasu as she's running away, chasing down Hachiman through the cavalry. I think a decent option should Oathhh elect to go down that path. Ixchel Hover, though, for the Highland Ravens. A little bit of poke potential, high damage output, CC immunity to deal with Taiko drums, additional damage mitigation. I think that is probably the most significant change to Ixchel in 10-11. Having that 15% damage mitigation while channeling ultimate is so valuable. Instead, taking a page from the King's book, saw Adapting doing it a little bit earlier. We'll see if Scream pilots it the same way. Worth noting, Adapting's build a little bit different from the majority of other Mercuries that we've seen. It's Rage, Deathbringer, immediately Nisarated, then Bloodforge. For a Scream, I'm thinking probably a little bit more standard, but I can't believe I just said that about Scream.
Yeah, right? I'm blown away. Mercury has played 6 games.
Yep.
I would want to double check before I lock in on it.
I would say it's like all 6 Adapting.
But that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
All 6 on Adapting. All 6 were wins as well. He has 100% win
He'd be
rate.
winning.
And that, to me, is maybe the most impressive. It's not often you can get past 5 games, really, with 100% win rate. So Mercury gonna be put to the test here. Merlin, we hadn't really talked about, honestly, hadn't seen a whole ton of, but is something that BennyQ likes to go back to, and something, Mifflin, you were highlighting, and highlighting heavily. Susano locked in here for Oathhh. Noted 18 games, 33% win rate means he has the same amount of wins as a Mercury, just way, way, way more games played.
Yeah, it's tough. Susano's in an interesting spot right now. The only reason I highlighted is because I was pretty certain Oathhh would go towards it with his propensity to just lean onto this pick. And it does have decent interaction, of course, as we already broke down in the Highland Ravens draft, but there is another player that I associate closely with Susano, and it's Panatom. When I think of Panatom, I think of Susano, and it's because he goes towards it pretty consistently. Panatom's kind of stopped a bit on that Susano, though. He's really slowed down and gone towards other picks, and I think it's got something to do with Susano not being exactly as good as he once was. So we'll see whether or not Oathhh can work through that. As Scylla rounds out the draft for the Ravens. High damage output, best secure on map. Really good CC lockdown on the side of the Ravens to make it easy to connect. I'm a monster. Fafnir Hammer, you're getting monstered. Amaterasu Dazzling Offensive, monstered. Any one of Mercury's CC abilities, here's the thing, she's a monster. So there's a lot of options here for Scylla to not have to aim her own abilities. Must be nice being a mid laner. On the other side, though, as you said, Merlin locked in for Benny. I mean, same conversation as Susano. There was a point in time where everybody was playing the Merlin, and it looked really good. We're talking about how he's got best siege and best siege defense in Mage Pool. Not exactly in that timeline anymore, are we? It's a little bit different. Damage output still pretty decent. High potential to burn objectives, but takes a little while to scale up. Feels like the early game has seen a little bit more action pretty consistently here on the tail end of the year. Merlin doesn't exactly love getting active early on.
Now, I know the last time the Ravens played this, I did see, I believe on Twitter, a lot of people talking about how much they love Vin's Scylla. It's something that goes pretty well hand in hand. And Miff, more importantly, this is the age-old conversation of burn versus secure, right? Like, you step up to an objective, the Hounds can burn it real fast.
Ravens might also have burn.
They do kind of have a Fafnir and 3 auto attackers.
3 auto attackers. Heavenly Banner making those auto attackers a little bit better. Merc's going to be building crit.
Man, wait, Ravens might just have both.
Yeah, Ravens got burn and secure. Eldritch Hounds got less burn and less secure. Good team fight, though.
And you know what? As we saw last game, team fight can matter a little bit more. Early game, that maybe is the more important factor here, because what we saw for the Ravens was a very early deficit in kills. Gold they managed to maintain. Do the Hounds have the same potential to get those kills and specifically with this kind of comp, get something after them to get that gold lead further?
There's really good pick potential with this composition. That's one of the primary strengths of Susano, especially throughout the early game. The displacement from his second ability is very difficult to deal with. So high potential there, as well as having kills secure from your ROM. Anytime you got any version of a semi-global on your team, kind of simplifies the game in that regard. Oh no, he ran away at 10%. Shot.
Game's done, or at least that fight's done. We'll find out. 3-0 for the Ravens, or will the Hounds fight back? It's game 3. It's J-Mac and Trelly.
Thank you so much, Gore and Mifflin on the desk. We jump into game number 3 with the Highland Ravens and the Eldritch Hounds. It's J-Mac, it's Trelly, and it's Doug here to bring you that action. So you do have a brief pause immediately already between the teams out there. So, I kind of want to open the conversation around this mid lane. Maybe questions coming around for BennyQ going back to the Merlin. We know that it's been his comfort pick, his default. When things are looking bad, go to the Merlin. At least he has a comfort pick there. Now you look opposite side for Venenu going to the Scylla. Nobody else is really playing Scylla right now. Did get a buff in this patch. The root, I believe it's the 1.75 seconds at all ranks, as opposed to having to max up into that. So a longer CC duration for that Sikkim. But still quite a bit of burst damage that comes towards this god.
Yeah, I mean, I like BennyQ going towards the Merlin. That's never going to be a bad thing. It's not going to have the greatest pressure early on, but you always scale late. It's good on defense. You have decent buff clear early on, so you can get to wave quickly. It's just about, how are you able to get through early game, right? Do you have enough early pressure on your squad to actually get this Merlin online? Same conversation with the Scylla. Not great early. You're playing towards late. How much burst potential do you have toward these objectives? And more specifically, where's your confirmation for I'm a Monster? Not the easiest ability to hit. Number 1, when the enemies know it's coming. And number 2, when you have some sort of setup in Dazzling Offensive, you've got the Merkle, you've got the Fafnir damage. So there is a bit to set up for Ven there, but it's also a pick that you go to when you're confident. When you know you're hidden, you can go towards the Scylla. It's incredibly safe, very hard to punish because of how much movement and CC immunity she has. So as long as Ven's confident on it, then yeah, I tend to think he's got a pretty strong performance coming here.
A lot of lockdown potential for the Scylla as well, and pretty nice confirmed targets, and more than anything, good CC to help him be able to confirm these I'm a Monster. It's what we always look towards with gods like Scylla, Ra, those big snipe-style ultimates. Is there somebody to hold them in place that way Scylla can get the big easy damage early? Early game might be able to do it by themselves with the buff that came to the increased root time from that Sikkim. But then you still got the Mercury, you've got Fafnir. If you want to use the Hachiman dash for a stun to try and help on that, sure, you can go there.
You tell me we got some Iaijitsu set up? We've
been seeing some crazy Iaijitsu plays over the course of this phase. We'll have to see if one of those comes through with the Hachiman. But back over to the opposite end here, the Eldritch Hounds. I think a lot of the conversation that got brought up towards the tail end of the desk was playing around the objectives. You have a huge objective style team with the Ravens, Fafnir, Amaterasu, plus a few in-hands, and you've got the Secure from Scylla. Opposite side, you don't have that level of Secure. I mean, Typhoon, probably the hardest hitting ability they'll throw on that map. But you do have some decent burn to kind of go alongside that.
They certainly do. I think ward coverage is still going to be a pretty big topic of conversation. Going for these quick objectives with the Fafnir, Amma, and Mercury means that you need to know exactly when a Gold Fury could be burned. You got to know where the Fafnir is at because, Hurriwind's been going first item frenzy at times just to make sure that they can burn through these objectives quickly. And you don't want to show up late. Even if you show up on time, you're showing up to fight more often than not. It's either, hey, let's kill Ven before I'm a Monster goes off, or let's try to win the fight after the fact, which is also why Pyromancer's going to be important, right? Runic Bomb, still a big deal.
Zep said, "Oh, the camera's on me. I'm stopping. I'm gonna stop talking." He turned away instantly. He didn't want to. He thinks that the enemy team is able to read his lips.
I can assure you, Zapman was not talking about strats there. I don't know what it was, but there's no way he's like, "All right, guys, here's how we're gonna play the early game." He was probably saying something like, "Get your Prime subs ready," Yeah. So that's what I would guess.
Make sure you get your recipes, boys. That's what you got to focus on here. Getting your recipes and get us back into the game. Game number 3 for the Hounds and the Ravens. Now ready to kick off. Once more, it's JMX, Trelly, and Doug here for game number 3 to kick things off and see if the Eldritch Hounds can have that fight back in them, see if they can find themselves a game win, take us to game number 4, are we going to have our second 3-0 of the day, courtesy of the Ravens? Twitch chat seems to think this one's going to be slanted over towards the Ravens, 68-32 on the poll this time, which is about what we've been sitting at for a good portion of this little set here. Fans trying to give some of that favoritism over to the Highland Ravens. And I'm interested to see how Scream will pilot the Mercury. We've seen what adapting does. It's double, sometimes triple crit in the build. Usually Rage, Deathbringer, get a little bit of extra pen online with stuff like Serrated Edge. So I wonder if we'll see Scream do the same thing.
You want to see some ugly clear. I want to watch how slow Ben and Haddix go in for their clear. Yeah, Neil did this last time, wasn't able to steal anything away, but Terra definitely has a better chance than a Maui would. You really just try to take away the purple buff. It doesn't seem like there's going to be too much attempt. It's just going to take such a long time for Haddix and Ben to try and clear. They should be late to lane. But NeilMah doesn't seem to care. He's actually eating a lot of damage here. You think there's any kill potential? A hammer from Hurriwind would have to come through, but they're losing the green buff. Zap's got to hit it. He ends up getting it. Losing that leash can be pretty bad. If you let that buff walk all the way back, you are not hitting level 2. They're losing Chester as well, man. This is a bit of a struggle.
They lost him.
And this is the thing. This is exactly what Neil wanted. He didn't even want to steal. He just wanted to be as annoying as possible.
Beads off of Ducky. While it was not a whole lot of action on left side, very slow watching of NeilMah just staring at the enemy team as they lose out on small buff after small little camp here and there. Even stalling out the wave a bit in dual lane was Stu. So making sure to minimize the farm, roll into Zapman. Piercing autos are there for 2, but doesn't have the follow-up damage after NeilMah. Really stalling out this lane, making it difficult for the Highland Ravens duo, where, as we saw on the opposite side of the map, Ducky out of his beads for another 2 minutes off rotation from Scream.
Yeah, and Scream did the right call. He said, listen, I'm not sitting near Ven. Our clear is awful. Our fight is awful. I'm going for the cringe gank over in solo lane. Doesn't pull the beads, and if anything, Ducky's going to sustain back up, so ends up working out better for the Eldritch Hounds because you're just a little bit behind there. Oathhh is going for the early gank. Pre-beads on the pole. Great call. Even dive in the tower. One more auto, man. Stuart on point, but not enough damage. Pull the beads off of Zapman. Now both side lanes got to play careful. You lost beads on Ducky. Remember, here comes a special delivery. That should confirm the kill.
Mirror after, and that's first blood going to Haddix. Highland Ravens on the board in the right side of the map, getting a kill for the solo laner of their team. Just Scream with the back-to-back ganks. Goes for one. Says, all right, cool, we got the beads. Let me go farm up a little bit, wait till the next option's available. Gets his golden opportunity. Finds that pick onto Ducky and now sets up the Ravens for first blood. The dual lane still struggling a little bit off that early pressure that NeilMah afforded for the Eldritch Hounds on the opposite end. But even with the death to Ducky, this is still what I was calling for at the end of game number 2, was this aggressive style of play from the Hounds. Oathhh getting involved early. Stu, and I guess in this case NeilMah more than anything, just playing up at the enemy tower line the whole time. Could be returned back to Haddix. Thunder Crash in, pull from Oathhh, and that's the return kill. Now the Eldritch Hounds on the board.
Yeah, but that's a much better time to gank because of this right here. The blue buff did spawn in, and Scream is nowhere in sight. The Eldritch Hounds are going to be able to take that one away from Haddix, even with the teleport. Just does not matter. So that's a great gank over there by Oathhh, just to make sure that Ducky is back into this game, and that gank didn't hurt him too much. Dual lane still should be sitting just fine. If anything, Stuart should be quite a bit ahead because NeilMah has been missing farm. Literally at level 2 just ran away. Like, didn't get any farm in the jungle, didn't pick anything up, just dipped out and said, go ahead, you clear the wave. I'd rather be level 2 for a bit. So while Hurriwind's going to be climbing ahead because of that, Stuart is also going to be climbing ahead just by nature of getting that solo farm. If Stu gets aggressive, maybe it'll work out, but NeilMah still does have to be the initiator for this team more often than not, so would like to get that Gauntlet of Thebes online as quickly as possible.
Next time to hit level 6 for Ducky off of that wave. Puts him well ahead of Haddix, who just now tipped over to 5 by taking down the wave there. Cooldown buff does go to Ducky, so still further XP pushing him forward. That blue buff invade, a great way, and also that follow-up kill on a Haddix, a good way for Ducky to come back, but now it's Neil and Oathhh on the way to duo. Zapman doesn't have beads this time. He has his ultimate. He's going to play it patiently. Jukes out the root, jukes out the stun. Actually goes aggressive onto Stu, pulled back by Oathhh, and he keeps going in for the fight because now it's Scream here with a sonic boom. Zapman gets one. Special delivery throws Oathhh right back to the wolves, but there's just enough damage, just enough health to keep him alive. Made you look off the mark, but the Highland Ravens, Zapman's aggressive play, turns it around and finds a kill.
Yeah, needed that major look to connect it. Now NeilMah gets grab another special delivery, throws him in. Do they have the damage? The tick damage from the Fafnir is not there, but Zapman has the auto. Scream gonna fall down the tower, so NeilMah picks it up, but you give 2 over to the Hachiman. And Zapman's gonna make out like a bandit after that fight. I really thought Oathhh would have just killed him and that been done with it. Wasn't paying attention. Gotta be watching that map because Scream sends it down left lane. Not only picks up the first kill, but also makes sure to feed his duo one more onto Neil. That's a great dive. I'm amazed that Hurriwind goes in there, but sometimes you gotta risk it for the biscuit, J-Mac, and they were able to grab the biscuit.
Oh, Scream. That is not a fun 1v1 for you. Oathhh already online with that Jotun's Wrap.
Another gank.
Slamming big damage.
This is
Up
risky.
against the jungle. Haddix under tower. Oathhh goes
That's why it's
in.
risky.
Big damage, but not enough.
Goodbye.
Return fire. An ultimate from Ducky. Not going to find anything this time. Haddix can go back to base. The 2v1 goes sour for the Hounds. Another pickup for the Ravens.
The reason that's risky, besides a level 6 tower dive, is you have no beads, and Haddix had a silence. Like that is a long silence. It takes a lot longer than you would think to go away. Oathhh wanted to get in, get out, or get in and trade for the kill. Couldn't find either. And then the Taiko drums from Ducky comes through the wall, not even in range. You gotta think they could have dove together, but Ducky was like, you got it, I'm gonna go steal away blue buff or get some farm. A little bit uncoordinated there, and Haddix is able to pick up the kill and live to tell the tale. Not bad for the solo lane. Still relatively even in nature, but low health onto Stuart. Ult from Zapman's getting close to being able to kill here.
Stun gonna hit NeilMah. Zapman's still holding on to ultimate for now. Heal up for Neil. Both gonna sit under, or I should say behind the tower line. Banner's gonna slow them down for the time being, but making sure to break that line of sight in case Zapman does go for the ultimate. Actually, that return kill now puts him up 2-1 for the 1-1 of Ducky. Still behind in XP. Still battling out. Zapman's taking a 2v1. He's winning the 2v1. He's even got an ultimate. He could just go in aggressively. Gets NeilMah, but needed a little more damage. Both Neil and Stu live, but man, Zapman is playing very closely to that tier 1 tower line. Oathhh, late on the rotation, won't get to reap any of the benefits from that aggression.
Scream's nearby. Has the idea that Oathhh is nearby as well, but hasn't went in to show it just yet. A lot of CC, and remember, no beads available. There's the ult anyways. Why not just go in for Stu? Special delivery. Not available. Oathhh will be able to live this one. Hurriwind does find the stuns, but no one is nearby to try and help. Even with the rotation in from Neil, Scream should be able to grab that buff. I can't believe Stu stepped up. Like, you know Oathhh is near shield buff, so certainly Scream has to be nearby. Ben gets some great Pocahontas. BennyQ just in the jungle. Even trying to rotate over to help his duo lane. Probably not going to rotate back over, though. If that's the thanks you get for rotating over, not a good look.
Oh,
and see you later, Oathhh.
So walks through his own jungle and gets punished because of it. No safe place for him now. NeilMah about to dive back under his own tower. Using the Bastion to block the in-hands from Zapman for now, but now both Bastions are gone. And Venenu finding some decent poke against BennyQ and then not backing down, still stepping up. Able to find the help from the setup of Scream to knock down Oathhh and put Venenu's first kill on the board. Zapman is playing so aggressively. He dashes in to avoid the stun as opposed to out.
Stu hits these?
He loses 70% of his health.
He's not sniping?
And Stu doesn't even try for the snipe. Either he's not confident that he can hit all three or he's not confident in the damage to get the kill.
I mean, there's no survivability relic from Hurry. You're down 0-2 in the set. I'm going for the snipes there, but maybe he fears, number one, he doesn't have beads, and number two, there could be a sonic boom coming his way. Needs the ult to survive. Maybe that's the call from Stuart. Either way, I think I'm still probably going for the snipes.
I'm going for those snipes. I'm probably missing those snipes, but I'm going for them.
Yeah, me and J-Mac are built different. We're both going and hitting those snipes, obviously.
Yeah.
But I get it. Scream comes through with an ult in the next minute 30, and you just died because you didn't have your ult up. And it was low stakes that you hit every snipe anyways because the ultimate from Zapman still could have came through. Stu's thinking just a little bit far ahead, you know?
He's thinking 2 team fights ahead. We're thinking in the immediate here and now. Fight over shield buff. Zapman again. I don't think Zapman's used that dash defensively this game. I think every single time we pan over to him, it's try and fight NeilMah, fight Stu, whoever's standing in front of him, just go for that EI Jutsu damage.
This is 2-0 Zapman, though. 0-2 Zapman, you know, he's under tower, he doesn't care. 2-0 Zapman, he's going in constantly. Sitting at the tower line, poking with that banner every chance he gets. Hurriwind wants to jump over to the wall and find the stun. Because why not? Who's going to stop him? Stu's got an idea that someone's nearby. Has the ultimate just in case. Maybe this wave would be the call, but nope. Hurriwind doesn't want to dive, and I think that's the objective smart call to go for. Or to not go for.
Yeah, probably don't want to go for that one. Hammer through the wall makes a stun for stun between the supports. Scream will make sure that Zapman is able to clear out his purple buff with no issues this time as Hurriwind rotates back over once more to the dual lane, soaks up a little bit of farm just to try and finish up that breastplate. It's been now started out. And Zapman's found a new build to go to, and he's going to go into it now 3 games in a row. Devour's Gauntlets into Demon Blade seems to be the call once more for Zap. Buffs Demon Blade. We're wondering how long it might take before we see it kind of pop in, see how it works out into the builds. Zapman seems to like it enough to throw it in second slot every game.
Yeah, Stu seems to be following suit as well, just mirroring that build. Both have Dev Gauntlets, Cal, and Tier 2 crit online, Demon Blade. Usually the call next. The Highland Ravens have the position, they've got the damage, they've got pressure in just about every lane. It's about time they go in for a Gold Fury pull. Ven's here with the burst as well, and Hurry might go in for the tank. Yeah, it's about time, and they're going to go for it. They've got the burst. Can anyone show up to try and fight this? Maybe Neil, but that's about it.
Jeez, Frenzy plus Coerce. Venenu goes to the Yama Monster very early. The Highland Ravens get the Gold Fury, but Hurriwind might just lose his life because of it. BennyQ chasing up NeilMah, zoning out Ven, while Benny picks up his first kill of the game. Eldritch Hounds answer back to Fury. Not the most ideal trade, but getting anything off of that is a success now for the Eldritch Hounds.
Yep, Hurriwind unfortunately just tanks a little bit too much damage there. They burned it so quickly, Ven didn't even get to use I'm a Monster. I mean, he used it, but it didn't hit anything. That Fury went down quickly. Crush able to confirm that one. The Highland Ravens push themselves even further ahead by nature of Zapman getting some great farm over on left, pushing Stuart under tower. BennyQ, every time he walks into the jungle, he eats a crush or two and says, okay, never mind, I'm not stepping forward. And Oathhh, despite finding some success early, has been heavily punished for not picking up beads. When you have Blink, you can get kills, but you also get killed, and that's been what's happening more often than not, sitting at 1, 2, and 1. Still getting aggressive when he can, but has to watch out for Scream, who, once again,
He loves this item.
yeah, after the rage, goes into the Shadow Drinker. There are times when it's just the most clutch item in the world, and then there's times where it does absolutely nothing. In this matchup, there is a bit of tick damage that can be annoying, right? When you take that damage and the invis just goes away, but if you get a nice solo kill and then you're able to zoom out of there with some stealth that no one expected, it can be pretty clutch.
We'll see if Scream can find one of those clutch moments as we have a group up around the beacon. Only NeilMah standing on the point for now. Hurriwind lends a hammer onto BennyQ. Haddix puts out some good damage for BennyQ's forced to flicker out of this fight, but it's now ducking the Taiko drums, and Oathhh being collapsed on by Zap and Scream. A Made You Look punch takes him down, and Stu stands by as his ally falls. 3 versus 3 in the mid lane. Stun off the mark by Hurriwind with a root damage combo from Venenu is good. Hurriwind rooted in place, but he can't get out of this one. Stu puts him down with a setup from NeilMah. And the beacon still has not been capped yet. With a couple of members of the Highland Ravens falling low, the Eldritch Hounds should be able to pick that one up.
Yeah, the Highland Ravens recognize that, number one, they were losing that fight once they lost Hurriwind and they didn't want to stick around. And number two, they could probably get more for themselves if they just split up anyway. Scream takes away some back cam. Zap pushes down the tier 1 tower. And I think that those plays can only happen because of Hurriwind's build, right? He goes into breastplate, has no sort of magical defense just now, upgraded that breastplate, and BennyQ's level 15, right? When you got a 5-level deficit and a Fafnir jumps next to you as Merlin, you're going to just switch into your stances and completely try and burn him down. That's exactly what happens, but the Highland Ravens aren't done. They just jump on a Pyromancer and start shredding that through as well. They got 3 stacks on Rage. Why not go for the Pyromancer? Who's going to walk up in time? Not even Neil. That's going to be free.
Speaking of BennyQ, lost on his beads from Scream. A sonic boom through the jungle. Caught BennyQ, forced out his beads immediately in a quick flicker to get BennyQ out of danger. Now nets the Highland Ravens that opportunity to go for Pyromancer. They drop that one down and keep up their lead. 4,000 gold for the Highland Ravens. 3k XP nearly up for themselves. Most of that coming through the jungle, though. And a little bit over from that dual lane. 2 levels between the combo of duo, and then the 2 levels for Scream over Oathh. The Eldritch Hounds had a great start to this game, but the momentum of the Highland Ravens is getting difficult for them to keep up.
So far, have not been able to find too much aggression since that. Beacon's already gone. Primal Fury spawns in here shortly. And remember, Stuart has been stuck underneath this tier 2. He's been able to match the build of Zapman. Just can't quite finish that dominance yet, which means you don't really want to take an auto attack trade. But because Stuart's been pretty far back, he can't step up anywhere near the purple, can't step up towards the Primal Fury. And that means that the Highland Ravens can get forward, get some aggressive ward coverage down. As Ducky goes to proxy farm. Haddix doesn't have the teleport though, so going in for Primal Fury doesn't sound like the smartest call just yet. You want your Amaterasu there, and the second that Ducky shows himself proxying, everyone knows Raijin's not making it to the fight. But Haddix would have to book it on foot the whole way over, which doesn't seem too free, considering that no one on his team is going in just yet. If anything, Scream might be trying to ult Stuart, even though he's near his tier 2 tower, was running down left lane just to look for some form of engagement. There's no one with beads down, though, besides BennyQ, and he's been playing very safe.
Yeah, it's play even safer. Took a ton of poke from Venenu as the Ravens once more head towards Primal, but Vision is in the pit for the Hounds. So as soon as they see an ultimate from Hurriwind, the whole team groups up around. BennyQ's got to be careful, half HP healing up, thanks to the efforts of NeilMah, but we're already seeing what Venenu level 16 can do. Sick him into a polyproc plus crush. So that's about 75% of Benny's health. Primal Fury low. BennyQ, no beads, has to use the Aegis. Beads up in 3 seconds. Flickers away from Zapman. Is still in danger. Scream goes in. In hands aren't enough. Snipes from Stu. He's got to hit this one. Doesn't need it. Oath's got one. But Scream takes down BennyQ in response. Venenu versus Ducky in the backline's not going well for Venenu. Has to use the Aegis against Ducky, but Ducky uses the beads to take him down. A 1-for-2 trade out now for the Eldritch Hounds, and it might just be 3. Haddix able to dash away, but Oathh pulls him right back in. Ducky with some decent damage. Set him in a wall from Neil to block him off. It's Ducky with the double kill. The Hounds get 3.
Yeah, that was some questionable target selection there from the Highland Ravens. I mean, they've got the aggressive positioning. They immediately poke out BennyQ, but diving to the back line, Zapman sort of ints to get some damage off. Scream ults in to try and find the kill onto BennyQ. You see the little bit of a 50-50. Hurriwind, the only one nearby to even go for a steal, has Runic Bomb. Does drop it down to try and pick up something, but gets destroyed. The Eldritch Hounds pick up that Primal Fury. They'll take that one after their one fight. And then, couldn't get any sort of damage off. Just tried to 1v1 Ducky. Couldn't even land I'm a Monster because there was no setup for it. Not a great look for the Highland Ravens there. They still have their gold because they've been building that lead up pretty much all game. But the Eldritch Hounds, after being down a lot, end up getting everything.
Wow.
Can they step up to this Fire Giant in time, though? It's just BennyQ. He's got no relics, though.
Hurriwind's already transformed. NeilMah steps in. BennyQ stunned out. Doesn't have his beads. And the Highland Ravens will get the Fire Giant. A sneaky play by the Ravens. Now nets them a major objective. Pulling that one away from the Eldritch Hounds. Secured by Venenu. And that's 600 damage from the crush that deals that one. Pyromancer might not be as free as the Hounds were hoping, though. Scream standing by. One crit from a major one will do so, and Scream able to take that one away from the Eldritch Hounds. No objective for them this time through. Both on the right side go to the Ravens.
Stuart was spending all of his time on the left side of the map just trying to get some farm for himself, where the rest of the team is just off pushing. Zapman's got a 2-level lead now. Still building into that crit. You don't want a box, right? Look at the build difference. First of all, the only relic for the Hounds that is available is Aegis on Ducky. Second of all, it is just getting scarier and scarier to try and step up over in left lane. Stuart can't buy farm at the moment. Need this Rama online to deal with some of these squishier targets. That's the benefit of crit. You're no longer being like the tank shred guy. You're being the let's delete some of these carries guy. And Zapman can do it from across the map. Scream can do it from literally across the map with his ultimate. And there has not been too much presence towards the tank stats. It's just NeilMah who picks up that second item, Spectral. Ducky once again just going more towards that damage.
I see the Highland Ravens grouping up towards mid, all 5 heading that direction. Hurriwind jumps in against NeilMah, and Zapman closing in around inside the jungle. Mid tier 1 tower gone. Highland Ravens still sticking around. Could be a fight for tier 2. Ducky not there quite yet. Still over on the right lane. Hasn't joined the rest of his team. but needing a minion wave is the Highland Ravens. It's an early fire giant from their team, so their push very dependent on having that minion wave there. Scream's actually left the team for the time being. Might go split push his own tier 1 tower as Hurriwind jumps forward. Doesn't get the hammer this time, but now with the man advantage, Highland Ravens are going to have a difficult time pushing up mid-tier 1 instead, and they've sent 2 people off to split push. Even Haddix is going to leave and go do his own thing.
Yeah, why not? I mean, at this point, the Eldritch Hounds have to make a decision, right? Are they defending right? Are they defending left? They are going to split their forces for now. But at any moment, Scream could try and rejoin his team and just ult in. You don't want to lose track. Haddix does have the ability to dash forward, but as you can see, underneath the tower, doesn't love the trade up against Stuart, despite having a little bit of a lead. So I wouldn't make that too much of a habit. The Ravens only have a minute 20 left on this FG that they snuck, but they haven't gotten too much for it. Would be time to go in for a tier 2 tower if they choose, but doesn't seem too confident. They're playing this one as slow as humanly possible. And the Eldritch Hounds, they've got no reason to leave tier 2 towers. Don't give yourself up to a sonic boom. Just sit back and play the farm game.
I watched Ducky clear a wave, head over from right lane, starts walking through jungle, and then immediately Scream pops up on the map. I can just see his icon and probably the expression on his face is going, I just got out of this lane, man. Why are you still over here? Immediately turns back and goes to defend his lane once more. So Ducky effectively stuck in the right lane as long as Scream keeps showing his presence there. And speaking of Scream, 3-level lead over Oathhh. Hasn't had a chance to go back to buy his starter item yet, but certainly holding on to the golden hand to do so. And now an Oni Fury, all that distracting, and the last bit of that fire giant might just net the Highland Ravens one more objective. Oni Fury dropped down. NeilMah stepped up and realized that he's already too late to try and take that one away. Highland Ravens continue to expand their lead, 8,500 gold up for the Ravens, and continuing their push up left. Gonna clear out that minion wave. And now head back to base, spend up some of that golden pocket. I mean, Zapman sitting on 2,700 in hand. That's a finished up Deathbringer plus more.
Yeah, I think he wants the Deathbringer and the cowl upgrade. That's why he hasn't went back to base just yet. Doesn't quite have the gold to do so. But Fire Giant spawning in here shortly. 22 minutes into the game. You gotta look towards Venenu for the best burst on map. That's not gonna change anytime soon, and it never will change in this game. So what did the Eldritch Hounds do? Do they stick by? Do they try and go in for the fight? Or are they just going to give this one up? BennyQ and Stu on the left side of the map for now. They know Fire Giant's not up quite yet, but they're going to have to start running over now if they want to defend. And it seems like they are channeling their back. So Stuart doesn't quite have the Deathbringer online. Just upgraded the 2nd tier. Won't be giving him those extra crit. Not extra crit damage, but hey, a little bit extra power. And just try and buckle down for this team fight again. You can attempt to steal, but you're looking to try and win the fight. You're looking to try and kill Ven, and the best chance to do that is Oathhh. I got my eyes on Susano. Can Oathhh even get to the backline when Scream is trading the way he is? Hurriwind's already a dragon. He ulted before the Fire Giant even spawned in.
Fire Giant is up, though.
Oh my goodness.
Popped up. That Fire Giant is gone, and that's the danger of this composition for the Ravens. NeilMah stunned out, dashing by Haddix. He's got the ult to collapse around the wall. Doesn't get the stun onto NeilMah. Great use of the monolith. Keeps him alive this time, but it's a sonic boom right through 3. Scream will have to dash out, though. Too many damage numbers flying back his direction. The Highland Ravens, they get the fire on all 5. They use a few ultimates to try and get some kills, but the Eldritch Hounds, they're all safe for now.
Yeah, NeilMah, very clutch wall placement there just to make sure the dazzling offensive didn't stun, but Scream ends up lining up a beautiful sonic boom. Pulls the beads off of BennyQ, pulls both relics off of NeilMah. Not going to find a kill just yet. Unfortunately, Ven wasn't able to close gap. But there's a reason Scream's the one split pushing. Has 2 runic bombs in pocket. Get him alone with a tier 2 or a Phoenix, and it's going to get absolutely destroyed. I'm thinking if I'm the Ravens, I'm stalling for Scream to get his ultimate back. I'm pushing up with these Titans and trying to split up our team fight as much as possible. There's no one on the Hounds that can match that presence and be in both team fights like Scream can, unless it's Stuart sniping across the map, which is not going to be the same impact that the 1k crits that Scream is able to grab are going to have. But still, 3 tier 2 towers. The Hounds were able to defend last time despite being down this far. And they are able to defend once again. At least they're lining up for it. Are they going to go for an ambush onto Scream, or are they just going to sit here and wait? Ducky's the one walking forward. He is the tankier of the two, but still, you'd rather go back to that tier 2 tower.
Defense around tier 2 Will it be a soft defense, or will it be a full commit to
Stu?
it? Might not want to. Stu's half
That
health.
monolith might have saved his life.
Sonic Boom, keep your eyes on Scream. He wants to go for that kill, but with a Titan marching in and all 5 of the Hounds surrounding, Stu's going to be safe for the time being, but Tier 2 tower, not so. The Highland Ravens will push up, take down this Titan as well, and can now continue their efforts here up in the left lane. Their Titan's still going to be a while before they get there, but everybody except for Haddix is already pushing up towards this Phoenix, while Haddix has dealt nearly half of Ducky's health by himself.
Tier 2 minions not quite there, so Haddix can't keep going. The left side, Phoenix is the target. Remember, Scream still holding on to 2 runic bombs, but does not want to use them just yet. They've got time before that Titan shows up, and they've got time before they have to force this fight. Still a minute 30 left on the Fire Giant buff. I really think you send someone over towards mid. I guess it's just going to be Haddix. He's got no reason to try and back up here. Scream is actually leaving for the shield buff. Why not? He's got Sonic Boom. He can join at a moment's notice. And remember, BennyQ doesn't have the beats. He has to stay behind this Phoenix. Watch the positioning. BennyQ's never giving himself up to a Sonic Boom. And here comes Scream.
Ravens trying to push into this Phoenix. They let their Titan get the damage done. NeilMah's already popped the ult, but the Ravens are playing patiently around the team fight and around the Phoenix. But I'm a Monster goes through, and the Highland Ravens have already taken down one with Stu in the sky. The Ravens might just continue their push forward. Venenu is low, though, but so is Stu. He is gone, and their Titan out as well. The Highland Ravens will now break their way towards mid.
Yeah, still one more runic bomb. Scream's got onto it, and you've lost your duo lane. The Eldritch Hounds have to play defense. That's BennyQ's job, but with his cooldowns down, here come the Highland Ravens. Hurriwind gets a stun. Second Phoenix drops, and there's still one more with a tier 2 to go through.
Oathhh trying to make the hero play and will take down Hurriwind, but Zapman puts him down right after. And the Highland Ravens will lose out on some of their front line, but not concerned with ending the game just yet. Instead, we'll head over towards the right side tier 2 tower, knock it down, and leave only one Phoenix left.
Full-on retreat call. That Fire Giant buff has fallen off. This is the second Fire Giant of the game, but not quite in hand, so that will be all she wrote for this push. With one more Phoenix left, the Highland Ravens can play this one about as slow as they need. There's not much more gold they can get on the map, right? Still have to sell for these recipes. They still have plenty of gold in hand. 2,600 is the lowest. Scream. Yeah,
my God.
He's working towards 5K. He wants to back with 2 3K pots. He's like, you know what? I'm keeping my gooseberries. I'll just get both elixirs of power. Jokes aside, the Highland Ravens in a fantastic position to try and go in for this end call. They just need one more buff. I'm trying to highlight the strengths of the Eldritch Hounds. Sure, BennyQ does have good wave clear. Stuart, decent crit damage, but it doesn't seem like anyone's able to kill Haddix. That's the big issue, right? This Amaterasu is able to build tanky with just some auto attack speed. The skins procs are shredding. That's why you send Haddix to be the one that's split pushing. Hurriwind doesn't even have to waste the dragon form, but he's going to do it anyways because he sees the Eldritch Hounds are stepping forward. They're not clearing waves. They're actually nearby. They want to try and fight here. Fire Giant once again is gone. What are they even doing here?
Oh no, NeilMah caught out again. The I'm a Monster clips him for half his health, and the Monolith only buys him a moment. Haddix goes in with the stun onto Stu this time, but NeilMah is still alive. Hurriwind is low, and it's a Sonic Boom in from Scream, but Ducky's already gotten one. The snipes from Stu aren't quite enough. The Highland Ravens have to back away. They got fire, but they lost Zapman for that trade.
Yeah, the beautiful ultimate from Oathhh. Just the whole entirety of the Ravens grouping up in a small corridor in the jungle. You could tell the Hounds weren't sure if they were going in for a steal, if they were going in for a fight. NeilMah gets to 1 HP, but ends up surviving because of Oathh's play, because of BennyQ, and the snipes from Stu were just too threatening. Now Primal Fury goes down. The Eldritch Hounds do have some legs in this race. Still, getting caught in the jungle is not going to be a good call. You still have to deal with fire minions. And the Highland Ravens, despite losing Zapman, he didn't use any relics. In typical Zap fashion, he can get back and still be very impactful in this team fight once he groups up. And Fire Giant still available for 3 minutes. The Ravens, I think you send Scream over to left lane. He's got his runic bomb. He can go towards that Phoenix once it spawns in. Take a 1v1 versus anyone that shows up. And just bring the rest of the team over to right lane and try and get that right side Phoenix.
Looking over at Ducky's missing health, and that's just from what Venenu did to him with that one crush. 6-slotted Scylla, versus no magic defense Ducky on the Raijin. And this is another game where he's going against double physical in his lane, says, okay, cool, I'll get breastplate. And then he doesn't go magic defense, and Venenu is just tearing through his health. Last time it was on Thoth with small chip damage here, small chip damage there. This time it's Venenu saying, hey, there's 30% of your health, here's 50% of your health. Just waiting for that big shot from Venenu. The I'm a Monster reset. Haven't seen one just yet this game. I'm a Monster not the one getting those kills. The Highland Ravens. Left side Phoenix respawn, but Scream can walk right up and take that one. Crush hits 2. NeilMah and Ducky both clipped by that one while left side Phoenix goes down. Transformation from Hurriwind on the right side. Another crush thrown out to zone away. Stu and the rest of the squad. The Highland Ravens can't get in just yet, but they've got Haddix and Scream waiting in the wings.
Yeah, BennyQ is just keeping so much pressure. This Merlin has plenty of DPS to stop anything the Ravens are going for, and this Draconic transformation is going to last a long time, but Hurriwind is going to transform back eventually. One more bird to try and go for, and it looks like NeilMah's the target. 1 stun, 2 stuns, but Ducky goes to the back line.
NeilMah stunned out by Haddix, not enough damage. Ducky goes into the ultimate, but Scream wants to try and get the damage out. It's an Aegis from Ducky and snipes from Stu. He needs a few more shots. Zapman avoided one, avoided all 3 of them. The Aegis buys him just enough time and space to get out of this team fight. But that right side Phoenix is still alive through all this. The Ravens just can't breach that side of the base.
Yes, Scream still does have the bomb, but has not opted to use it yet. Didn't have to on the left and middle birds. That was free because of the pressure Haddix made. Right side Phoenix is still an issue, but Ben has the poly shots. They're walking forward, and Zapman was able to heal up off some back camps. This right side Phoenix is still under siege.
Scream keeping that ultimate charged up, waiting for a chance. The Sonic Boom back. Venenu still taking some chip damage from the Eldritch Hounds. A pull onto Haddix. Oathhh taking the 1v1 and winning this one, but can't say the same for his teammate. BennyQ has to go back to base. Right side Phoenix finally knocked down by the Ravens. It's been giving them so much difficulty, but slowly and surely they win the war of attrition.
And they get all 3 birds down, but that also means they have to retreat. You don't want to go in for the end call without Enhanced Fire Giant, and Fire Giant buff falls off in 10 seconds anyways. Full-on retreat call, get some extra gold online. I suppose Hurriwind wants to get rid of his recipe and upgrade some relics, but you're not really needing gold too much anymore if you're the Highland Ravens. It's just elixirs at this point, once this back comes through, that is. He's got 5k gold again? What did this man spend it on it last time?
He bought a full Blood Forge and then like a power potion. And then he saved the rest of his gold. He could still upgrade his relics, technically. He could buy a 3k, a power potion, and upgrade both relics with that amount of gold.
I liked the call from the Hounds. They grouped up in the jungle. Unfortunately, the guy they found was Hurriwind, and that didn't seem like someone to use all their damage on, so they head on back to base. Trying to defend in the fountain is not going to be easy, just because, number one, Ven's poke is going to start to add up. The sustain is going to start to add up. And the Highland Ravens are able to split up these team fights so well. Haddix and Scream alone threaten so much, and they're able to split away and have so much movement speed that even if they find a kill, could be trouble. Ducky dashes forward. Haddix does not care too much about it, but all of the Hounds are here. There's already minions on the fountain, and NeilMah is making the pull?
Difference in the last fights was that the Ravens were already starting up fire by this point. This time it's the Hounds on the aggressive. Scream pushing up through mid.
He's gonna go end.
Minions are there.
Oh, yeah,
He'll
he's
just
ending.
go for a Sonic Boom to the end of the game.
He's ending.
Ducky takes down Haddix. Sonic Boom gets Scream right to the back line with a minion wave and
It's
a couple
over.
of runic bombs. Scream will backdoor the Titan. Not quite. BennyQ made it back in time
More
to defend.
minions.
And now he can hold out on his own defense. Zapman goes down to Stu. Scream, though, will walk right in, take down Benny, end the game. And the Highland Ravens get their sweep.
I mean, I knew he was gonna end. I didn't expect BennyQ to be able to get back so fast. Surely someone could have stopped that back. Wasn't that big of a deal. The Eldritch Hound recognized, hey, there are 3 Phoenixes down, Enhanced Fire Giant, someone's gonna walk in and just one-tap our Titan. We gotta force a fight. The Ravens weren't interested in fighting. They literally just ran and said, Scream, go, and we will just run around and stall as much as possible. At that point, why not? You have every lead in the map. Could have taken the fight if you had to, but no one was forced in your hand. If you want that 3-0 sweep, it's guaranteed if you send Scream.
Early game from the Hounds, I mean, love what we were seeing out of NeilMah. These weird invades, though they're not necessarily netting him anything, it's letting Stu get that extra farm.
Yep.
I think the only problem I have with it is that Stu's playing like Rom. And while Rom is great when you get the crit online, you start getting those snipes, level 1 to 2 Rom isn't necessarily a killer in lane.
He's not a killer, no. And what he wasn't doing was getting pressure either. Scream comes in, sends an ult downtown, they get the kill on Oathhh, immediately translated into another kill on the Stu, and then Stu's tower's done. What does he do the rest of the game? Sit at tier 2 and just take free farm. He can't take fights, his purple buff is scary, Primal Fury is constantly being under pressure because of the dragon. You couldn't play through Stu even if you got pressure.
Yeah, they didn't. For the Ravens, they don't even need Secure to take down these objectives. They got more than enough burn coming from the Fafnir, the Yama, Frenzy, all of that. And the crit from Screen, that was going pretty good as well.
Sure, yep.
This is just an objective game that the Highland Ravens won in spades. They take the set 3-0. Sit for me and Charlie on the cast. We'll throw it back over to Gore and Mifflin on the desk.
That's right, 3-0. Mifflin, the Merlin on defense was putting in as much work as it could to stop the Ravens from winning. But unfortunately for the Hounds, it could only go so far. A lot of the things, I mean, you just heard the casters go through, but I think the Mercury above and beyond stands out here. First off, 7 games, still 100% win rate. Like you said, something you go to when you're confident. Scream looked real good, and he had a great surrounding cast throughout that entire game.
Starts fast, slows things down a bit, I think, on it, and says, maybe I play PvE Mercury, and that's pretty good too, because you've got crit and awesome auto attacks, so you can really deal with those objectives quickly. And speaking of dealing with objectives quickly, I actually went through, rewound the game. I wanted to see that last fire giant that went down. That was approximately like 2.8 seconds from 100 to 0 on the fire giant. An absolutely ridiculous pace. I think perhaps one of the fastest fire giants just about ever. Wild. And that's exactly what the Highland Ravens composition was built around. Not only do they have the burn, but also the Secure to be willing to go for plays like that. Bit of a Scream snoozer end, right? Going for the backdoor. I think Charlie highlights it best. Did he need the backdoor? No. Did he? Yes. And the win is guaranteed essentially immediately after that. That is not to say, though, that the Eldritch Hounds were losing steam, though. I felt like towards the end of that game, things were starting to clean up a little bit. Fights were getting a little bit closer. Team fights were looking a lot more even. Had the Hounds been able to get those Phoenixes back, perhaps the game gets a bit closer from there. But unfortunately for them, simply not the case. And the Ravens win out cleanly.
A little bit of bullying as well. Like at that moment, it feels like, okay, BennyQ gets back. Maybe this is the defense that holds on for a little longer. But fire minions plus, by the way, I forgot. Oh yeah, Mercury. It's enough to kill the Merlin as well, just to find him on the line of sight. It's exactly what you need. A lot of good damage. You know, I know going into this, like Scylla is not something we see often, but Vin keeps going back to it every now and then, and it's looked good every single time for the Ravens. And more importantly, Mifflin, when we're looking at the grand scheme of things, something, unfortunately for the Hounds, they needed a win, and they needed it badly if they were looking for standings shifts. For the Ravens, though, it's a good win to be able to pick up, especially this far into the phase. There's only a couple more sets, and this week plus next Saturday and Sunday to try and shift some things up. And this is a huge win for them as well. But you don't got to just take that from me. I'm sure they feel pretty good after their 3-0. We, in fact, have that Scylla standing by. It's Venenu ready for an interview.
That's right. I've got Venenu from the Ravens here. Congratulations on your win. You're up against the Eldritch Hounds. Talk to me a little about the Scylla. You've gone to it a couple times so far. This phase seems to be a comfort pick for you. It's just something you're kind of experimenting with as we start moving towards playoffs.
I don't know. We haven't really practiced it in scrims at all. It's just kind of a pick that I just think sometimes is good. She's not that good of a character, but like for what she's like in the draft for, she fits it every single time.
Tell me how the team's feeling right now. So far, sitting 5-4. I believe one match at the very end of the week to kind of round off the phase. Tell me what your guys' thoughts are so far on your performance throughout the phase. Did you do better than expected? Did you sit right about where you were kind of seeing? What's the kind of team identity right now?
I mean, we're feeling pretty good. I think, I mean, our first week was just rough because we just have a new ADC, a completely different play style. But right now, we're happy where we're at. We get to practice things in best of 5 format, so that's kind of what we want to be doing. Because, I mean, SPL Day is just the best practice, so it's just kind of warm up to playoffs, and yeah, just keep testing stuff, see how it goes.
Kind of talk to me a little bit about that, because we went from, you know, a lot of our seasons have been kind of that best of 3 now into a best of 5. Does this kind of completely now change up maybe the practice mentality of the regular phase kind of moving in towards playoffs and then Worlds? I
think it's a good change overall. I mean, scrims can be iffy, obviously, as I'm sure everybody has heard, but like playing in a best of 5, it kind of opens up like a game 1 where you can try something and see if it works out. think a couple of teams have tested that. You've probably seen it over the phase. People like to go try stuff, or like even if you're up 2-0, I mean, you just have a little window if you want to try something out. It's just a good format overall to like be testing stuff and whatnot.
Seems to be working out for you guys. Congratulations, Ven, on the win. I'll let you get back to the team. We'll throw it back over to the desk.
Well, you get to hear it, feeling confident, and very specifically looking towards playoffs already.
Yep.
And that's a good spot to be in. Again, for playoffs, that has impact on going to Worlds, right? The seeding gets determined. You know, the order you choose your opponents going into the actual event feels real good when you get there. And the better you do, the better, I guess, opponent you don't have to face. You get to choose the worst out of the others.
That's right.
Yeah, I said that. I'm going to be honest. I said that in maybe the worst possible
Little wordy,
non-clear
we got
way.
there.
But yeah, you know what? The point is there. First seed, real important, real good going into Worlds. First seed curse conversations aside. Now, though, we do still have to figure out what the seeding is going to be going into those playoffs, as well as which teams are going to be there. Remember, the bottom two of each, or I guess the bottom two teams, the bottom of each division is taken out. So you're only going to get the top 3 from Order, top 3 from Chaos. And the rest of this week still affects a lot of that. Ferryman Kings start things off tomorrow. Dragons and Warriors, which is one I'm really excited to watch, with the Dragons having a little bit more of a hot hand lately. Hounds and Gladiators there on Sunday. And then to close things out, another one that I think is going to be phenomenal. Ravens, who we just saw, and the Leviathans, who we watched earlier, both getting their 3-0 wins today. And I think that matchup, Myth, could be massive.
I mean, if you could only pick one, Gore, what is your big look forward to? Because for me, it's Ravens Leviathans, and I think
have to agree.
This matchup up against the Hounds from the Ravens, I came into this death segment, egg on my face. I thought we were going the distance. I thought it was going to be much closer. I was thinking at least 4 games, all incredibly long and back and forth. And this is a different version of the Ravens.
Yeah.
They have come out absolutely swinging. I think could make a conversation to start breaking into that top 3, that illustrious top 3 that the Ferrymen, Leviathans, and Warriors are currently holding up. That's going to be the heat check right there.
And what I think is maybe the most important, it's the second time those two teams have played all year. They've been in the opposite division each time, so they only had one matchup in Phase 1. They've only got the one matchup here in this Road to Worlds. And when we did Masters, we've done all the brackets, things like that. They've just never had to play against each other. They've been on opposite sides of the bracket, and one or the other has been eliminated before they can get to a spot where they would meet up. And so now we get to see them. The first time around, it was like the very first set. Shinto's on ping. You know, a lot of things are still going there for the Levi's. So now we get to see them, like full power. What they're going to do. And again, it affects some of the standings. So I'm excited to watch it. It sounds like you're excited to watch it. And I'm going to stop using all the talking points now because we're going to need them on Sunday. And instead, I'll thank you guys for tuning in. From myself, from Mifflin, all the other cast, and of course, everyone back there in production. Everyone here at High Res Studios, we appreciate it. And we'll see you tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. to do it all again.
I didn't thank them.